Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter Podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
And we are live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter Podcast, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we'll talk about it here. My name is Eric Lorton. I'm here with my co-host, Ringside Robert, and England's adopted son, Joe Habib. And we have a great show for you today. And as always, you can catch us on the web at www.ringsidereporter.com. And if you want to call and ask questions or just give your 2 cents, you can call in right now at 323-870-3857. You have to hit option 1 if you want to talk to us. Today, we're going to talk about, Robert, it's the big one, Triple G versus Kell Brook. Now, I'm not making that up. It's going down. This is going down.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Yeah.
The UK, baby. The UK.
Yeah.
Beef's excited.
You take one UK fighter out, and you put another one in. You can't stop us.
That's it. Just when you think they pull you out, they pull you back in, or something like that. Is Eddie Hearn the worst promoter on the planet or an evil genius? We'll discuss it. Deontay Wilder, the heavyweight champion of the world, friend of the show, is fighting this weekend. The Bomb Squad, that's right. We'll break that down for you. UFC 200 took place this weekend, and we have the results right here. But first, we get started with the PBC on ESPN. What a great night of fights this was. Mario Barrios versus Devis
Eric.
The very first thing you noticed in this fight was the height difference, man. Barrios looks huge for a welterweight, or for a featherweight, I'm sorry. The fight was for the number 2 position in the IBF, and a lot was on the line. The fight was very uneventful. Boos were scattered throughout the fight. Bashero was just completely unwilling to engage. He was more than happy to play defense all night long and lose every round. I thought that Barrios, honestly, he did pretty well. But, he had some trouble, to me, he had some trouble fighting tall. And he should really use that reach, uses the gifts he has. He's super tall. He had a guy in front of him, though, that didn't want to fight, so it's hard to judge how good he really is on this performance. Barrios dropped Bashero in the 12th round, and that was pretty much the highlight of the fight. Scores were 120 to 107 across the board, all 3 cards. I think Bashero needs to find a different line of work, I'll be honest here. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that a lot, but he did not want to fight this guy. And he's had quite a career. I think he's challenged for a title, if I'm not mistaken. But he did nothing in this fight. What did you guys think of this?
Well, the amazing thing is, as big of a skill gap there was here, one thing about Barrios is he's not a super-duper huge puncher. So you would think that Bashero would more chances and kind of, obviously when you're at a skill disadvantage, you got to make the fight ugly. You got to get in the trenches. You got to go to war because you're not going to beat this guy, with just boxing ability. You're going to have to fight him. You have to outfight a guy like Bashero. And, excuse me, not Bashero, but Barrios. Bashero needs to outfight a guy like Barrios. And he just did not have the intestinal fortitude to do so in this fight. And that was a big issue, obviously, because he wasn't going to beat him waiting. If you just sit there and let the quicker guy who's longer, who can establish range pretty well, if you let that type of guy, which Barrios is, set up shop and not really put any pressure on him, then obviously this is the result. This is what you're going to get. So,
I think you hit the nail right on the head, man. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head when you said he didn't have the intestinal fortitude to do it, because we know he's got the skill level. I mean, we really do. We know he's got the skill level to fight inside. He just didn't want to go in there.
Just didn't want to do it for whatever reason.
No, he sure didn't. And I think, maybe he got hit early. Maybe he got hit, maybe Barrios has got a little bit of power that he didn't like. And that was it. I mean, when you're fighting a guy that tall guys can hit. They hit hard, naturally hit hard, and you have to be willing to take some shots to get in there. And, that ain't all that easy to do,
Yeah. Well, you made a great point, Eric, because, obviously we're not in there. We're not feeling the punches. So it could very well have been Barrios must have did something to him to make him second guess himself. And that happens in a fight. But at the end of the day, you want to survive, or do you want to at least give yourself half a chance to win the fight? So I guess he chose to just survive and go the distance.
Robert, what are your thoughts on
what
this?
It is.
Mario Barrios, for those that didn't get a chance to see it, Mario Barrios is 6'1". Pacero came in at 5'6". Where's Emmanuel Stewart when you need him? Because this is a classic case where the guy needs to learn how to use his size. And I really want to know where the organization, and I don't know which one it was, I really want to know which organization had this Italian ranked to
IBF.
Okay, well, that's a typical New Jersey move because that's where they're located.
Wow! Dropping bombs! You're dropping bombs! You're gonna get us sued.
No, I'm not gonna get anybody sued. These are my opinions. You can contact me if you don't like them. But
you heard that, guys. It's him, not us.
That's right. You're not suing me.
No, nobody. And I'm not saying anything slanderous here. It's just I really wonder how they put these rankings together sometimes, because this guy didn't even look like he was interested in fighting or even qualified to fight. And like Teddy Atlas said last night on the broadcast, this was supposed to be a test for Barrios, and no exam was given. So how do you see this kid moving forward when he wasn't really tested when he was supposed to be? So I guess his next fight will be, his actual test, and the way the organizations work nowadays, he'll probably get a title shot out of this performance.
Well, and again, PBC is always criticized for the matchmaking, but let's take a look at this. You have a long, tall guy who could fight well on the outside, not a huge puncher, but has decent boxing skills. And then you have a shorter guy who's a pretty decent inside fighter in Bashiro, who's somewhat rugged, and he's been in there. So you would think, on paper, this would have been a better matchup. And we can't really say, hey, PBC dropped the ball. I mean, obviously not the two biggest names around, but stylistically, this had the recipe for a good fight. It just didn't pan out that way. That's what it is.
Sometimes that's the way it goes,
Yeah, when you put this on the actual canvas, it didn't turn out the way it was supposed to be, and
I love it. It's a nice little metaphor. I love it.
And I don't blame this on Mario Barrios. I blame this on the opponent. He basically showed up and didn't really look like he was really into it. I mean, and they were commenting, because ESPN had reporters in each corner, and the guy that was covering Barrios or Pacero's corner, they said, well, these are the most calm Italians I've ever seen in my life. Nobody was saying anything. Nobody was doing anything. They were just relaxed. It was like they were there to collect a payday, and that was it.
Yep.
Insane. So that was the first fight. that was the main event. And then the undercard here was Eddie Ramirez versus Jesse Roman. Now, Roman took the fight on 10 days' notice and never been in a 10-round fight before. This is a pretty tall order for a young fighter, and it proved to be too tall as Ramirez took a unanimous decision from him, 99-91 on two cards, and then 98-92 all for Ramirez. During this fight, man, I didn't hate this fight at all, man. During the fight, I thought
really
that Roman had his moments. He would land some good punches from time to time, but overall, man, I think he just got outboxed every round. He would land good shots, but you're talking about a guy who's got 10 days' notice. He's never been in a 10-rounder. So, obviously stamina is going to be an issue for him. Overall, like I said, he just got outboxed. Ramirez is a good boxer, man, but I tell you what, he got touched up a little bit too much for me with clean shots. Everybody's going to get hit, but when he got hit with some clean shots a little bit too much. Now, did they hurt him? Probably not, but they definitely got his attention. I would like to see him work on his defense a little bit more, but overall, man, I thought he looked pretty good. You can't really complain too much about it. And I thought it was an entertaining fight.
Yeah, he was rolling the shots very well, so that's why I don't think he was catching them so flush.
Okay.
And the shots were pretty wide too. The shots are pretty wide from Roman, and he saw them coming from a mile away because it seemed as though they were a little bit telegraphed, and he was punching right inside the wide shots. He was shortening up his shots and getting his in there quicker, and his had a lot more leverage on him. You could see that there was more body in his shots, and Roman's shots looked more to me like arm punches. So that's why I don't think that he was too wary of trading, because he knew that he had the heavier shots, and he could pretty much see everything coming, and he could brace himself and, as I said, roll the shot. So I understand where you're coming from, but sometimes it's strategy. Like people can sit there and say, like, for Triple G, oh, he's letting guys hit him, but he's really not letting them hit him. He's catching the shot and rolling the shot, and he's putting his opponent in that comfort zone, letting him feel as though, hey, you know what, I can land something, and making them open up, and then that's when you just pounce on them, and you land the more quality blows, and you know that your shots carry much more weight and have much more of an effect. So you're playing a little bit of Russian roulette, so to speak, and you're going to win. So why not roll the dice? You know what I mean? So that's what
right.
I thought happened last night.
That's a good point.
Because you could definitely see Ramirez's shots really had an effect. You could just see it.
How much of this was? I mean, when you're throwing your punches wide and you're kind of off like that, that's not necessarily a ring, the 10 days notice kind of problem.
No,
that's not a 10 days notice issue.
That's just who he is. Yeah, that's just who he is. And you could look at Antonio Margarito, same thing. His greatest claim to fame, two things that he really had in his favor was he was in phenomenal shape, and he just kept throwing punches. So it didn't matter. He was like, he just throw it out like throwing spaghetti up against the wall, and it's gonna, some of the strands are gonna stick. And that's how Antonio Margarito, that was his greatest claim to fame. That's why he was called the Tornado. The Tijuana Tornado, because he just never stopped. So if you're going to have a style where you're not the most technically gifted guy in the world, you got to bring something else to the table, whether it be strength, pressure, conditioning, relentlessness. You have to have that. You have to have something to offset your technical liability, so to speak. So he just didn't have it, and it showed in the fight. There was nothing that there was nothing dynamic about him at all. There was nothing that was ever going to present any problems for Ramirez, because he just didn't have that X factor at all. Just didn't have that X factor.
A lot of people hated on this card, the PBC on the ESPN card, but honestly, like I said, man, the Ramirez Roman fight I thought was pretty good. The main
event sucked, but the first fight was very interesting.
Yeah, the first fight was very entertaining.
Yeah.
It was a very entertaining
but the main
fight.
event
I enjoyed it.
To Joe's point, I mean, you got, like I said, Barrios, and you got Bachero, a guy who fights on the inside. I mean, that's nobody's fault that the guy didn't do what he was supposed to do, or he didn't really come to fight. That's nobody's fault, because clearly Bachero didn't come to fight,
No.
So, all right, so let's move ahead. I don't know, Joe, did you get a chance to see the fight I sent you today? I didn't, from the Pinoy Pride?
I actually skimmed through it, but I was kind of like watching it, but like I was watching it, but I kept like walking away from it. You know what I mean? With all due respect,
right?
It wasn't something that really, really grabbed my attention. To be honest with you, I don't want to, discourage you from sending me fights anymore. I'm going to send you fights, and he's not going to watch them. But yeah,
sent you like 5 fights today. You didn't watch any of them. What are you doing?
No, I just they just really couldn't. Yeah,
it's over.
You know what it is, Eric. Davey Boy sends him all those UK fights, so he puts those on the priority list.
Yeah. Then, what about the Mexicans scored a big upset here. Cesar Juarez versus Prince Albert Pagara. Juarez scored a huge upset by knocking out unbeaten Prince Albert Pagara in the 8th round. Pagara dropped Juarez at the end of the 1st round, but Juarez, with the pressure, completely pressured this guy for the full 8 rounds because it ended in the 8th. This fight really should have been stopped in the 7th. He came out, Pagara came out and got hit with a left hook and just sent him reeling. Combination put him on the ground by Juarez, and that was game over. We talk about this because the guy I told you about last week, Pedro Little Pete Duran, the guy I was really high on last week, fought on this undercard. So I figured, we'll give you an update on his fight, and we might as well update the main event, and that was the main event. So now on to Little Pete Duran here. He fought to a draw to a guy named a journeyman, Edgar Gabajan. All right, Gabajan was 27. Listen to his record. 27 wins, 33 losses, 6 draws, and 9 KOs coming into the fight. That's right, 66 fights to Pedro Duran's 14 fights. I don't know who's matchmaking Duran's career, but he better find a new guy, man. That's a lot of experience to take off with only 14 fights, and it showed. Duran had a huge height advantage, to which he failed to employ at all during the 8-round fight. Reminded me of the Barrios fight. Gabajan seemed to control the action on the inside. Duran definitely had his moments, but by and large looked confused out there and at times didn't know what to do with the pressure from Gabajan. The bout went to a decision. Scores were 77-75 for Pedro Duran, 78-74 for Gabajan, and 76-76. The fight was a draw. First blemish on Little Pete Duran's record. He's got a lot of work to do, but he's also got, Beeb, what do you think of that? 66 fights coming in.
27, 33. Oh, my God.
That's still
incredible.
A lot of experience, though. Yeah, it's still a lot of experience.
That's a lot of experience, yeah. It's a lot of experience.
And I don't care how many losses you got, man. You got 27 wins. You got 66 fights, man. You know what you're doing. Even if the majority of them are losses, you know what you're doing.
Yeah, you remember back in the day, Freddie Pendleton. Remember how many losses he had? I don't know if you remember him, the former IBF lightweight champion. And a lot of people would just look at his record and say, well, this guy's got 20-something losses or whatever. But he could fight. He could fight.
Yeah. Wow.
He gave Rafael Ruelas hell.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, he went life and death with him.
Yeah.
You can't always judge these records. Orlando Salido's another one. Look how many losses he had.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
this is why BoxRec, with all due respect to you BoxRec warriors out there, you gotta look deeper into these BoxRec records. You gotta look deeper.
Yeah.
You gotta watch these guys, and you gotta see who they beat and who beat them. And you gotta look at how they lost too. You gotta look at how they lost. You gotta really do some research. It's not always just about records. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right. No, I was going to say, wasn't it Bernard Hopkins that lost his first fight or something like that? Or it was one of his first couple of fights he lost, and people were writing him off, and then look at him. There you go.
Clinton Mitchell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, of course, Mickey Ward had a record like that, too. He had 13.
Yeah, look at Mickey Ward.
The thing is, when Mickey was fighting, he just had so many tough fights in a row. And I even asked him, I said, is there anything you regret in your career? And he said, you know what I regret? He goes, I just kept taking tough fight after tough fight after tough fight. After a tough loss, I never really, took a breather. I never tried to build myself back up. I went right back into another tough fight. A lot of times I fought hurt. And, he said that, he wished that he picked and chose his opponents and differently. Not that he wouldn't fight top guys, but, he just fought tough fight after tough fight after tough fight.
Right.
Never gave himself a break. Even when he was hurt, he would never pull out of fights, because he just didn't feel he had the luxury of doing that, because he never knew when he was going to get another fight. So he just took whatever was thrown in front of him. And, unfortunately, they weren't Al Heyman's back in those days. So, you didn't have someone watching your back like that. I know a lot of fans will be like, "Oh, why would we want an Al Heyman back then? Look what we got." But again, from a fighter's perspective, these guys, they burnt themselves out quick because they didn't have somebody looking out for them. So,
that's
it is
true.
what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's talk about the upcoming fights this week. On Monday, tomorrow. That's right, Monday on HBO. Sergey Kovalev versus Isaac Chilemba, 12 rounds for Kovalev's WBO, IBF, and WBA light heavyweight title. And also, too, the two made weight. The two made weight. Kovalev came in at 174.6 and Chilemba 174.8.
Yeah.
10-15
Pretty unanimous.
Eastern
Kovalev.
time.
You think Kovalev's going to walk right through him?
Absolutely.
This is going to be a public execution.
I think the only way Chilemba can win is to outbox Kovalev, and because Chilemba is not going to be able to knock him out. The only way he's going to be able to win is to outbox him, and I don't know that he can do that.
Well, let me ask both of you guys this:
Okay.
if Bernard Hopkins couldn't outbox Kovalev, how's Chilemba going to do it?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's a big point. But, will the added pressure of being in his hometown?
Yeah.
Will that make any difference?
No. I mean, if the over-under was 5 rounds, I'd take the under in this fight.
That's right, because he is fighting in his hometown. He wants to put on a show. Alex is going to sleep early, folks.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Chilemba, I don't see this is definitely a tune-up fight. So, I don't see it any other way. Now, on Tuesday, July 12th, from, is it Nice or Nice, California?
It would be Nice, I believe.
Nice, California. Okay.
Yeah, Nice.
Lavon Gamachaba versus Bradis Prescott, 10 rounds, junior middleweight. This is PBC on Fox Sports 1. And Malcolm McAllister versus Gilberto Pereira, 8 rounds, or Pereira, 8 rounds, super middleweights.
And that's 11 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesday.
And on Friday, July 15th, PBC on ESPN, Sergey Lipinets versus Walter Castillo, 12 rounds, junior welterweights. And Tuksakt Niambar versus Rafael Vasquez, and I'm sure I just butchered his name, 10 rounds featherweights.
Okay.
And on Australia TV, this is on Friday as well, Jason Velez versus Rene Alvarado, 10 rounds, junior lightweight.
Now, that'll be a decent fight.
I think so, too. And then also, too, Rashidi Ellis versus Luis Hernandez, 8 rounds, junior middleweights. On Telemundo on Friday, Orlando Cruz versus Alex Valdez, 10 rounds, junior lightweights. And the 16th, Saturday, the big one, friend of the show, Deontay Wilder, the heavyweight champion of the world, versus Chris Arreola, 12 rounds for Wilder's WBC heavyweight title. On the undercard there, we're going to have Sammy Vasquez versus Felix Diaz. There you go.
Fight of the year.
Gerald Washington, Gerald Washington is also on this card. I thought he was fighting Amir Mansour again, but it says Ray Austin. Heavyweights, Erickson Lubin is fighting Ivan Montero on this card, 8 rounds, junior middleweights. Victor Chinian also on the card. Yeah, Victor Chinian versus Enrique Quevedo, 10 rounds, junior featherweights. Michael Seals versus the dreaded TBA. Light heavyweights.
I don't think we're going to be able to see all of these fights because
but these are the big names on the card.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But hopefully we get to see Erickson Lubin. I hope we get to see him. He's down on the card, but hopefully we get to see him.
He's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about the Deontay Wilder-Chris Arreola fight?
Fight of the year?
Well,
fight of the year? Hey, could be.
I hope you're joking, B, because I don't think it's fight of the year. I think Wilder's
What a matchup this is. What a matchup.
I think Wilder's gonna take the out of shape, overweight Chris Arreola and put him to sleep.
Wow, fat shamed Arreola.
Why do you have to fat shame people, Robbie?
I know.
The Beef's a little heavy right now. He's at 220. Beef's at 220 now.
Yeah, but you're not like.
He had to put his 34s in the back of the closet. He's wearing his 36s right now. Don't make fun of the fat shame right now, please.
Fat shaming. What's wrong with you, man?
Oh, my God. But Chris Arreola.
Why are you messing with him like that?
I don't know what their weights are going to be, but I can almost guarantee you Chris Arreola will probably come in about 245, 250, somewhere around there.
And, listen. With all due respect to Deontay Wilder, with all due respect to Chris Arreola, this fight, to me, is a gigantic letdown. It's a gigantic. This is like when you fill out your Christmas list, right? And you're right. I want the bike. I want the Atari 2600.
That's
right. I want all these beautiful things. And then when you wake up in the morning, all you see under your tree is a deck of cards. It's like this is like being, it's just like it's just indescribable how much of a letdown this is. It's horrible.
Well, and
that we have to have this fight.
And if you remember, Joe, when we first talked about this fight, Jimmy called up and gave the rant of the year on how disappointed he was with boxing. And I defended Wilder because, I mean, the guy was in the UK training for 13 weeks. He trained for a fight that didn't happen, so he wanted to stay in shape. They called up Arreola. He took the fight. do I like the fight? Hell no, because I don't think Chris Arreola deserves another title shot. But I don't blame Deontay Wilder for taking this fight, because it's not his fault that the whole Povetkin thing happened. He didn't do anything wrong.
But here's the big but here.
Okay.
I am going to blame Deontay Wilder a little bit, because this is the path of least resistance by far. If you look at anyone that could have been in this slot right now, and again, with all due respects to Chris Arreola, because the deal you take is the deal you make. And, it's not what you deserve. This is what the Beeb always says. It's what you can negotiate. And obviously he was in the right place at the right time. Kudos to him. But, Deontay Wilder is the WBC heavyweight champion. And he could have asked for a better fight, because this fight does nothing for him. It's basically a glorified sparring session without the headgear. And if I'm sounding harsh, then so be it. But it's the reality of the situation. I understand the whole situation. But, Brian Jennings wouldn't have been a bad name. Dillian White wouldn't have been a bad name. There was different guys that could have, been put in this slot. Obviously, Luis Ortiz would have been a great fight, but hell, that ain't going to happen. We know that.
He wasn't taking that fight. What about Amir Mansour? What about Mansour? I mean, Mansour would have been a good fight.
would have even been better than this.
Thought that would have been a good fight. Yeah, I mean,
it would have been a bad fight. It would have. I don't think he would have won, but there could have been some shaky moments for Wilder. Chris Arreola.
Could have been some fireworks.
Chris Arreola. I thought he lost to Fred Cassie, I believe it was.
Yeah.
I thought he lost that fight.
That's
right.
I thought he fought?
Who was the other guy that he fought? The bald guy with the beard and mustache. Kaufman. Kaufman beat him.
Yeah.
So I thought he lost two fights against two nondescript opponents. So this is going to be a destruction. This is going to be a destruction.
Okay, Joe, what's going to be more entertaining? Monday night's fight with Kovalev or Saturday's fight with Wilder? Which one's going to end earliest?
Flip a coin.
Yeah.
Flip a coin, because they're both going to be blowouts.
Yeah, I think so too.
Blowouts.
Yeah.
They might as well have called me up, put me in there for a puncher bag. I would have done it. I would have done it for freaking $300,000. I would have done it. I would have ran for about 3 minutes,
all right?
and I would have let him hit me once, and I would have went to sleep. Might as well call the Beeb up. Have the Beeb on retirement.
That's it. Yeah, so Wilder should roll this fight with no problem.
Right.
It is very disappointing, given the fact that we had some names, and he out of the names that he had, that's the one he chose. Kind of, yeah. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
You know how Al Heyman gives fighters 3 names to choose from? I'd like to know. I'd like to know the other 2 names on that list.
Well, there was. We had them. We had the list of the names, and Arreola was on the list, and there was a couple of others being batted around. They weren't that
Who else
either,
was on the list? Is Clubber Lang on the list?
Clubber Lang.
How about Ivan Drago,
Clubber Lang was too tough. Clubber Lang was too tough,
Piston Hurricane on the list from Super Punch-Out?
It was between him and Glass Joe. It was between
Glass Joe?
It was between Arreola and Glass Joe, and Arreola got the nod.
Was Don Flamingo on the list?
Hey, what about Ivan Drago,
he was too dangerous. Yeah, he was too dangerous. He was not on the list.
Oh God.
Or Mr. T. How about Mr. T? All right,
There you go.
All right, Robert.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Okay.
Moving on Saturday on BN Sports. From the channel that Beeb doesn't watch fights on, even when they're sent to him. Miguel Burchell versus Shalataran Pirapino. 12 rounds for Shell's WBO interim junior lightweight title. Not going to send you that fight, even though I'll watch it. Don't worry about it.
Were you going to send me those?
No, I'm not going to send you any of them. You don't watch them.
Come on, Alan. I'm sorry. I was watching Game of Thrones reruns. I was distracted.
You were watching Game of Thrones reruns? The season's over. But I could have another one for 8 months or something like that.
No, but I like to go back and watch the old seasons. I miss it.
Maroon, what are you doing?
I'm sorry.
All right. On Robbie's favorite station on Saturday from Unimas, Casey Ramos versus Hardy Paredes, 8 rounds lightweights, and Arnold Barboza Jr. versus John David Charles, 6 rounds junior welterweights, and nobody cares because nobody's going to watch that. Let's see what else here. From the Beebs neck of the woods, Cardiff, Wales, Guillermo Rigondeaux. This is on Saturday, and I don't see a Showtime listing for this, so I wonder if this is going to be televised. Guillermo Rigondeaux.
I'm not even worried. Guess why I'm not worried?
I know the same reason I'm not worried.
Essex is in. Davey Boy Essex will send me this fight, Daddy, and you know I'll watch it.
If Davey Boy Essex is listening, do not send the Beeb any more fights because he doesn't watch them, all right? He says he
doesn't watch the UK fights.
He's over there
I do watch the UK fights.
Yeah,
Guillermo
I think I want to lose my dual citizenship if I don't watch these fights.
Yeah. Anyway, who's Rigondeaux going to fight in the UK, Eric?
James Dickens, 12 rounds for Rigo's WBA junior featherweight title. Rigo should walk that.
Too.
Terry Flanagan versus. Get out of here!
The best lightweight in the world, Terry Flanagan, baby. Terry Flanagan, the best lightweight in the world.
Okay.
For somebody named Zonk Fana, 12 rounds for Flanagan's WBO title.
He's a sleeper. You got to watch out for this guy. He's a sleeper.
Yeah, that powerhouse. Yeah, that powerhouse Fana. Yeah, he's a real man's man. He's going out on the limb with this one, isn't he?
You got to watch out for these guys that no one knows about. They can surprise you.
And also, too, from Detroit, and I think this is part of the fight night at the D, if I'm not mistaken, Andy Ruiz, it won't be televised, but Andy Ruiz versus Josh Gormley, 10 rounds heavyweights. If you're in the Joe Louis Arena area, go see it, all right?
Okay.
All right, and that should be it. I think that's it for the fights this weekend. A lot of good fights.
I got to tell you, that was very well done. You blew through that list like it was nothing. I love how you did that.
That's because we got an 800-pound elephant in the room, Joe, and we're going to get to it right now in the news and rumors. If you want to call us, give us a call, 323-870-3857, press option 1. The big 800-pound, and I know Robbie has been chomping at the bit for this one because we were talking about it before we got online here. We spent our whole 15 minutes talking about this. Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, as Robbie likes to call him.
That's
versus
right.
Chris Eubank Jr.
No.
Canelo Alvarez?
No.
Kell Brook. Triple G versus Kell Brook is set for September 10th in the UK. Let me ask you guys, didn't we just see this fight back in May?
Yes, we did.
Didn't we just see this fight with, with another Briton and a Mexican? Didn't we see this?
Yep.
Alvarez and Khan?
Well, let me just say this.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you this.
You go. Let it out because the beef's going to go crazy in about 3 minutes. Go ahead. You let it out.
Eddie Hearn has managed to screw up 2 of the biggest fights of the year for his fighters. I think Eddie Hearn is the worst promoter in history. He is such a wank, all right, as they call him in the UK. Let's face facts. He's only involved because his dad runs the company, all right? His dad runs Match, and that's the only reason he's involved in it, all right? Jesse Vargas versus Kell Brook, blew it. Brandon Rios versus Kell Brook, blew it. Tim Bradley versus Kell Brook, he blew it. Chris Eubank versus Triple G, he blew it. Diego Chavez versus Kell Brook, he blew it. Now he puts together a fight for Kell Brook. That's 2 weight classes north at middleweight. He has done Brook no favors in this fight. Speak on it. Robert, defend your man here. Defend your man. You've been calling out Canelo for the past month. For the past month, you've been calling Canelo a coward. You've been calling De La Hoya a coward. Defend your man. Here's your chance.
Look, Eric, and this is going to blow everybody away. First of all, you all know how I feel about Gennady Golovkin. I think he's by far the best fighter on the planet.
You even have Gennady Golovkin on the ruse.
No.
He does. I saw him. Send me a picture.
I don't want to know about that, man. All right.
Anyway,
go ahead, Robbie. Go ahead.
May I continue? First
Robbie,
of all,
I'm sorry.
Everybody knows how I feel about Golovkin. I think he's the best fighter on the planet. And yes, I've been attacking the crap out of Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo Alvarez for making the ridiculous fight. No, because you know what? Tom Loeffler and Gennady Golovkin are going to get the same crap from me right now. First of all, I've made my points very clear on Canelo and Liam Smith. How the hell do you prepare for 160 if you're going to fight somebody at 154? That's inexcusable. Well, I could say the same thing about Gennady Golovkin and Tom Loeffler in K2. What the fuck do you think you're doing here by getting a fighter 2 weight classes below where your man is at and having him come up and fight you? I mean, everybody thinks that Kell Brook is the best thing next to sliced bread as far as 147 pounds goes. But my contention has always been Eddie Hearn has never given him any decent fights since he won that title against Sean Porter. He hasn't fought a top-notch welterweight yet. And here Eddie Hearn is asking this dude to jump up 13 pounds to take on the killer in the middleweight division. How is this? I can't justify this, because if I'm going to pick on Oscar and Canelo for fighting Liam Smith, then I've also got to pick on Tom Loeffler in K2 Promotions and Triple G for accepting this fight against a 147-pound fighter. You know, now I know, Eric, you've talked about examples of people jumping up in 2 weight classes and they've been successful. They've actually won the fight.
I'll make that argument. Go ahead.
You know, but in this case, I don't think Kell Brook's competition since he's won that title has been extremely soft. There's no way he's prepared for anything like this. But I do not like this fight. This does absolutely nothing for Gennady Golovkin. The UK is going to get a hell of a show, but I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't like it at all.
Well,
speak on it.
I'm going to disagree with Mr. Eric Lauder here. I think Eddie Hearn is the best promoter in boxing right now. And I'm going to go down the list. I'm going to go down the list of why some of these fights. I'm going to tell him, let the beat speak. Watch what the beat. When the beat unloads the knowledge, it is just like a volcano of intelligence. You're going to see an eruption of intelligence right now. When you brace yourselves, all right? Just put the seatbelts on, because you guys are going to be in for a nice roller coaster ride here. Kell Brook, Jesse Vargas. Jesse Vargas, I believe, priced themselves out of the fight. Brandon Rios wanted certain stipulations. Team Brook, being the champion, they weren't going to give in. Tim Bradley, Kell Brook, I don't think they really worked hard enough to make that fight. I'm a little disappointed that fight didn't happen. Chris Eubank Jr., Triple G, is not Eddie Hearn's fault, because Chris Eubank Sr. wanted to basically hijack this whole promotion and become the promoter himself. Eddie Hearn wasn't having it. That's not Eddie Hearn's fault. Kell Brook, Diego Chavez, I'm gonna blame Brook for that one. So out of these fights you just mentioned, how many fights? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 of them were probably Kell Brook's fault because he didn't really want them to happen. Okay, so that puts that one to bed. Now also,
well, I don't know. Can I interject something real quick?
You can refute. Yeah, you can rebuttal. I will give you the floor. You can rebuttal. Go ahead.
Wouldn't I would argue that that's Eddie Hearn's job, is to get these fights made. So in the event of Jesse Vargas, okay?
Yes.
$2 million. That was pretty much widely known. That's what he was getting. Okay, I mean, that was widely known. That was $2 million.
Wanted more, though.
And Kell Brook wasn't happy. But at the end of the day, isn't it up to Eddie Hearn to convince Kell Brook to say, hey, it's up to him to make these fights. The Brandon Rios fights and the Jesse Vargas fights and the Tim Bradley, and the list goes on. This is up to Hearn to make these fights happen, to make these fighters happy.
Okay, Eric. All Eddie Hearn can do is draw up the contracts. He can't grab the fighters' arms and make them sign it. If the fighters don't want to agree to terms, Eddie Hearn can't make them agree to terms. Same thing with Bob Arum. How many times you heard Bob Arum say, you know what? You know, this is what the deal was, so-and-so didn't want to agree to it. So at the end of the day, you're 100% right. A promoter is supposed to do everything he can to make the fight happen. But at the end of the day, all of these fights, especially this Chris Eubank Jr. fight, it looks like there was a good deal in place. And the reason why Eddie Hearn is such a good promoter is, okay, Chris Eubank Jr., his fighter, did not want the fight. What's he do? Puts another one of his fighters in there so he doesn't lose out on the promotion, basically. That's an awesome move. Now, do I like the fight? Okay, I'm going to sound like a hypocrite. You know why? Because I actually liked the Alvarez-Khan fight, and I'll tell you why. Because I think stylistically, and it did show for the first 5 rounds, I thought Khan's style would present problems for Canelo. Now, people have to understand, when I complain about this fight, they think I'm dogging Triple G. No, this is a compliment to Triple G, because Triple G is that good that you would want to see him in there with someone who can challenge him. Now, would he have beaten Chris Eubank Jr.? Probably so. But Chris Eubank Jr. brought some intrigue to the table. He was bigger. He's bigger than Kell Brook. He's faster than Kell Brook, in my opinion. He's more of a dynamic fighter than Kell Brook. Is he as skilled as Kell Brook? Probably not. But, just in the unorthodox way he does things and his athleticism and the theater of the unknown that he sometimes provides in fights, like the things he does, he just throws punches from all different angles. He does things unconventionally. That would have been interesting to see how Triple G would have dealt with that. Kell Brook is an outside fighter. Triple G can fight outside and inside, but he's proven to be a beast on the inside. Kell Brook is not an inside fighter. Stylistically, I don't think there's anything Kell Brook can do to present any type of problems to Golovkin. Or as I said, Chris Eubank Jr.'s dynamic style and his unorthodox style and just the freewheeling type of way he approaches the sport, where he fights, kill or be killed, throwing them haymakers. What if one of them haymakers lands? Can Triple G brace himself and prepare for that? How would he have reacted to that? Kell Brook is a straight-up, conventional outside fighter. I don't think that he's going to present any problems for Golovkin. I don't see him winning any second of any round in this fight. And I would encourage everyone to take the under in this fight because it's a no-brainer. So by criticizing this fight, it's not me criticizing Triple G, calling him a coward, a hypocrite, or whatever, because he did criticize Canelo for fighting smaller men. But, at this particular time, Billy Joe Saunders didn't want to fight him. Chris Eubank Jr. had the deal. He didn't want to sign it. Danny Jacobs don't want to fight him. James DeGale would have been a great fight, but he's getting ready to fight Bobby Jack. So I don't think this is Triple G's fault. I don't think this is Tom Loeffler's fault. And I think Eddie Hearn is a brainiac for just sliding another one of his fighters in here and not losing out on the promotion. He salvaged the promotion. That's a brainiac move. That's a G status. That's cheat up from the feet up status type move. That's an awesome move.
I can't believe
with all that being said, I fucking hate the fight. But there's no other avenue for Triple G at this particular time.
I think
and you got to give Kell Brook props for taking the fight. And I know that the easiest thing to do right now is to criticize Triple G. But again, I don't blame Triple G because who else is he going to fight? Another Dominic Wade? Interestingly enough, if you look at the odds for Triple G versus Chris Eubank and the odds for Triple G versus Kell Brook, they're pretty close. I think Triple G was a 6-1 favorite over Eubank. He's like a 6-1 favorite over Brook. So it's pretty much the same odds.
Joe,
do I agree with that? No, I don't agree with that. But it is what it is. I'm sorry, Robbie. I'm going crazy. I'll let you get in.
He could have fought. He could have fought David Lemieux. He could have fought Triano Johnson.
Nobody wants to see nobody. Nobody.
No,
yeah, he's already fought David Lemieux, and nobody wants to fight. I mean, if he fought Triano Johnson, you're going to watch him. It's going to be like a Dominic Wade fight. Nobody knows who Triano Johnson is.
Exactly. So by me criticizing this fight, and by me wanting Triple G to move up,
Yeah, by me criticizing this fight and by me wanting Triple G to move up, it's not me being a Triple G hater. It's me being a Triple G appreciator because I think he's that good. That's a compliment. That's not an insult. That's a compliment, you goofballs out there who are sitting there, Steve, why are you hating on Triple G? I'm not hating on Triple G. I think he's that fucking good. That's what I'm saying. He's that fucking good that I think he can hang with those guys at 168. You just want to see him get beat. No, I don't. I think with the exception of, when Andre Ward was contending at that weight class, he's probably the only guy I thought would have beat him at 168, and I don't even think that would have been a walk in the park. I still would have favored Ward, but I don't think it would have been a walk in the park. So this is how highly I think of Triple G. I'm not hating on Triple G. Hell, I might even go out and buy a Triple G T-shirt.
No, but this is a terrible.
I'm not going to buy the underoos like Robbie, but I'll buy a T-shirt.
I didn't. Oh,
there you go. There you go.
Anyway, Eric, go ahead. I know.
Well, go ahead. What were you saying? Finish up? You were saying something.
Well, I was going to say, look, I've always defended Triple G, but I don't know how I can defend him in this case. I really don't. I mean,
because you can't blame him, Robbie. There's nowhere else to go.
I don't.
I don't like the fight either. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't like the fight.
Look at the name you threw out. You threw out Toriano Johnson, a guy that got knocked out by Curtis Stevens, who Golovkin already knocked out.
I know. But
I'm not trying to dump on you, Robbie. I still love you, man. I'm going to send you a Christmas card and everything, but I think you're off on this one.
Well, look, I just want to see Triple G fight, people who are able to fight him. I mean, I know he's already fought.
Chris Eubank Jr. would have been one of those guys.
Yeah,
but Crazy Senior fucked it up. Blame Crazy Senior. Don't blame Golovkin.
And so would Billy Joe Saunders.
Billy Joe Saunders was at a press conference.
Nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
He was at a press conference. Him and Chris Eubank Jr. were arguing. And you know what Billy Joe Saunders turned and said to Chris Eubank Jr.? He said to Chris Eubank Jr., Golovkin could beat you and I on the same night. Okay? Mm-hmm. Imagine that. Imagine even saying that. I don't care if you think that. I don't care if you think that, but you don't say that. There's some days when I go into work and I feel like telling my boss to go F himself, but the beef does not say that. He may think it. Sometimes you got to use tact. When you're at a press conference, you don't let that out. You keep that inside.
Yeah. No, right. I couldn't believe that when he actually did say that. I mean, what kind of champion are you if you think that the fighter that's coming after your title is going to take it from you? I mean, that's pretty. That doesn't say
much. Let me
much.
tell you this: as much as I hate the fight, as much as I hate the fight, there's nobody else out there.
Did the beat make sense, Eric? Did the beat make sense a little bit?
Yeah, you did. You absolutely did. Toriano Johnson, nobody wants to. Golovkin has to have some kind of fight here. We're not going to keep putting up with Toriano Johnson's, just like we didn't put up with. We won't keep putting up with JoJo Dans for Kell Brook. So, he's got to have somebody. David Lemieux, he's already fought him. He knocked him out within 7 rounds. I mean, what else is left to prove?
I know.
Eddie, what's his face? Eubank Jr. That was a perfect fight. That's the fight I wanted to see. That's the fight I wanted to see.
I really wanted to see that fight.
Yeah, according to all reports. I
was ready to watch that fight.
Jerked this fight. Eubank Sr. jerked this fight. So I got it. But then you talk about Daniel Jacobs. Daniel Jacobs doesn't want to fight that guy. Daniel Jacobs and Billy Joe Saunders, who's the biggest troll out there, he doesn't want to fight that guy either. They offered him what did they offer him? He asked for $6 million. They gave him $5 million. He said no.
Wasn't it $4 or $6 million?
It was a ridiculous amount of money.
$5 million is a nice payday, man. What a payday that would have been, $5 million. And you know the funny thing is, and if anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Triple G's highest payday to date is $2 million.
That's correct. And and I believe he got that for David Lemieux, if I'm not mistaken.
It was a David Lemieux fight.
Yeah.
Got $2 million for David Lemieux. So if these guys are getting $5 million, purses offered to them to fight Triple G, and they're not taking it, wow. He's pretty much giving some guys purse parity with him, and they're still not taking the fight.
Yeah, well,
let me ask you guys a question. Go ahead.
I was going to say, with the David Lemieux fight, Joe, they both got paid the same amount. That's why it was on pay-per-view.
I think Lemieux got 1-5, if I'm not mistaken, but you can correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know, but
they were close, though. They were very close in purses.
Yeah.
You're right.
So
they
go
were very
ahead,
close
Eric.
in purses.
All right, so let me ask you guys this now. All that being said, I mean, hats off to Kell Brook. To me, I mean, he's got huge stones to go in there and fight Triple G. All that aside, let me ask you guys this. Is this really a penny wise and a pound foolish for Kell Brook? I mean, let's take a look. If he fights Jesse Vargas and beats him, which he was favored to do, which he probably would have done, he becomes the unified champion and becomes the money guy in the division. He, at that point, is the money guy in the division. With 2 belts, England on his side, I mean, you're going to make a ton of money in England. You're going to make a ton of money either way. That's a big A-side thing. I mean, it's tough to not call him the A-side. Fighters like Garcia, Thurman, Porter come to him, maybe the B-side in those fights. I mean, they really may be. I mean, he's got 2 of the belts. He's the undisputed champion at that point. You know, these are big money fights. And here he has 1 payday, and he's going to get demolished. And then he still has the welterweight belt, but it's not worth as much now because he just got destroyed.
Yeah, no.
Is it a bad move for him?
The only way he comes out of this a winner is if he goes rounds. If he goes rounds and has moments, then I mean, he can go back down to 140. But see, I don't even think he's going to go back down to 147. He's probably going to go to 154 because he's growing out of that division.
Yeah, because he's
not going to be able to fight Liam Smith because Smith doesn't have a title. Smith's not going to have a title after Canelo gets done with it.
Yeah, Canelo's going to destroy him, you know.
And Canelo versus Kell Brook at 154 would have been a monster of a fight.
Well, you know, you might end up seeing that next May.
Yeah, that's a monster fight.
Maybe. You know, but the thing is, like I said, man, I mean, to me, this is where Eddie Hearn comes in. And is Eddie Hearn looking for the best thing for the promotion or the best deal for his fighter? You openly said he saved the promotion by putting Kell Brook in. But I don't know that he did Kell Brook any favors by doing this.
No. Kell
Brook has Plan Bs. He has a Plan B here. I mean, he can still
What's his
fight.
Plan B? Amir Khan? That's it. That's his only Plan B.
Well,
I mean,
you could still try to put together a big junior middleweight fight, you know, a UK showdown. You can still throw that together. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
And if he gets knocked out by Triple G, which we all expect he will, we expect he's going to get KO'd by Triple G. I'm not 100% sure that happens, but I think Triple G wins the fight either way. But if he gets knocked out by Triple G, what, you're going to have Kell Brook and Amir Khan, 2 guys that just both got pasted in their last fight? And that's supposed to be a big moneymaker for him?
I think there's still big fights out there. Think about it, Eric. Amir
Certainly
Khan,
not as big as it was before Khan got knocked out.
Well, Amir Khan got knocked out by Alvarez, right?
Right.
Made a good account of himself for about 5 rounds, right? And the very next day, what were they talking about? Danny Garcia versus Amir Khan.
That's right.
They were talking
about mandatory
it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I believe he's Danny's mandatory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. So I mean, it's not like, and since he's the mandatory, it's not like it's going to be like this.
Yeah,
big,
but Kell Brook versus Keith Thurman, Kell Brook versus Errol Spence, Kell Brook versus Manny Pacquiao. Those are huge fights, bro.
Well, Joe, that's another problem I have with this. Everybody says that Kell Brook is the best welterweight in the world. Well, he needs to prove it in his own weight class. Look at the competition he's fought
you guys
since
said
Sean
that,
Porter.
I mean, in all fairness, though, both of you guys said that. Both of you guys said that he was the best welterweight in the world, which brings me to my next point. Both you and Joe said we think Kell Brook is the best welterweight in the world. I think Errol Spence is the best welterweight in the world.
Can I tell you something, Eric?
That being said, I can't defend that. Yes.
Yeah.
Real quick. I agree. Like right now, I think Kell Brook, I would call him the best, but to be honest with you, I think Errol Spence would beat him. But I can't call it.
I absolutely do.
I think Errol Spence has the potential to be the best welterweight in the world. And as thin as Kell Brook's resume is, you can even argue that it's not that much better than Errol Spence's. He has more fights under his belt, But, Errol, let's look at it. Besides Sean Porter, who has he fought, but you could look, after looking at Sean Porter versus Keith Thurman, right, and seeing how close and competitive that fight was, and Kell Brook, I thought, beat Sean Porter a lot better than Keith Thurman did. So, based off
wasn't that a split decision? Wasn't that a split decision, if I'm not mistaken?
It was a majority decision. It was a majority decision. But I scored. I scored the fight 8-4 for Brook. Some people scored it 9-3 for Brook. I thought that Porter fight could have easily been a draw. Could have easily been a draw. And a lot of people to this day are saying that Porter won that fight against Keith Thurman. No one's saying Porter beat Kell Brook. You could say that's the only fight, but that's a big fight. I mean, he showed a lot in that fight, going to Sean Porter's backyard and being the underdog and winning that fight. Errol Spence hasn't done anything that big yet. So giving these guys the eye test, I think Errol Spence could beat Kell Brook. I think his style would be a nightmare for Kell Brook. But with that being said, he still has to go out and do it before I give him that honor of calling him the best welterweight in the world. So I'm going to say Kell Brook is the best welterweight in the world right now, with Errol Spence having the potential to easily knock him off the throne and take the mantle from him. Absolutely.
But we may never see that.
So that being said, okay, so that being said, that he's you guys agree, you guys say that he's the best welterweight in the world. Why is this such a bad fight, him moving up? What's the difference between this and Sugar Ray Leonard moving up to fight Marvin Hagler? Sugar Ray Leonard's last two fights.
G is too good.
Marvin Hagler was pretty good too.
Good.
And not to mention Shane Mosley moves up.
3-1 fight.
Mosley.
Marvin Hagler won that fight.
I don't think he did, but I had Leonard win. Can I tell you why this is different? I'll tell you why this is different. Because Marvin Hagler was at the end of his career. He was fading. He didn't look great in his last couple of fights leading up to that Sugar Leonard fight, number one. He was old. He was 36 years old. Okay? And back then you could say, okay, well, Golovkin's 34, whatever. But back then you didn't have what you have now in terms of sports medicine and sports science. So you're seeing a lot of guys today in their mid-30s and 40s. This is just the evolution of sports medicine. You know what I'm saying? So that is what it is.
Let me ask you. What about Shane Mosley moving up from 135 to 147 to fight De La Hoya? I mean, that's two weight classes. That's what we're talking about here.
He was a gigantic lightweight. He was 5'9".
But so was Kell Brook. Kell Brook's a big welterweight. Yeah.
He's a big welterweight, but this is the difference. Triple G is in the prime of his career right now. Marvin Hagler was not in the prime of his career. Sugar Ray Leonard, he was a much better fighter than Kell Brook. But arguably, and this is blasphemous to some, I think that Golovkin has the potential to be as good as Hagler was. I think he does.
I completely agree. I completely agree with that. Yeah.
I can mention. Let me finish it, Rob, because this is good. This is going to be good.
Okay.
I can mention Golovkin's name in the same sentence as Marvin Hagler. With all due respect, I cannot mention Kell Brook's name in the same sentence with Sugar Ray Leonard.
You're absolutely right about that.
So you had a 3-1. So you had a 3-1 fight back in '87. Here, you have a 6-7 to 1, 8-1 fight come fight time.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
All right, let's go ahead and let's go to the phones. 978. 978, you're on.
Jimmy.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Big Jimmy, what's happening?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah.
All right, I can. Sorry, what's going on? Yeah, I'm not overly pumped about the Brook Triple G fight, but and it's only, and the reason being, it's not because of what you think. He's just not going to catch. The shit he's going to catch for it. It's somewhat. Listen, everybody's ducking him. And first off, too, you got to understand something. Right now, walk around weight. And the reason why Kell Brook, he's not stupid. The reason why he took that fight and is actually called out Triple G in the past and hasn't been fighting. And again, I've been watching some video on him training. He is huge. Like Steve Kim has always said, he doesn't believe that he probably sees maybe one more fight, for the belt, and he's going to move up. And it's all, and Eddie Hearn has always said he is going to be a 154, and eventually he end up in 160. You know what I mean? The older you get, like if you look out through everybody's career, this is not unusual. He's just jumping over 154, but it's not unusual at all. You look out throughout history, everybody starts at one class and they tend to move up. Eventually, Triple G will go up to 168. Where I disagree with you, Joe, is I don't think he should do it now. First off, there's nobody at 68. It'd be the same thing. You think James DeGale is going to line up to fight Triple G? It's bang that kid's lights out. It's quick. It'll fucking knock out anybody at 160. I mean, there's nobody at 168. I mean, so what's the difference? He goes up there, anybody runs like cockroaches when the light gets turned on up there, too. And that's
I love that one. That was a good one.
You know what I mean? Listen, and again, Jacobs, wrong side of the fence. Heyman has proven, people say, well, no, he does. No, he gives up. He's either feeding his guys, Anthony Josh or whatever, but he doesn't give his money makers. You won't see him pass. You won't see him have Danny Garcia cross the line or, Thurman. He'll do that with the expendables, the guys low down fodder. He'll pass those guys off for beatings, but he's not going to do it with any of the big guys. So Saunders is a dead deal. Lara, dead deal. First off, Tom Loeffler has said numerous times, not one phone call, one email. I have never heard anything from the Lara people. And everybody can agree on one thing. Tom Loeffler definitely seems like the type of dude, he's got a good reputation. He doesn't lie. Personally, I think he's too nice of a guy. But he's honest about shit. He says not one word. So regardless of whoever's, running Lara's Twitter account, because it's not him, he can't speak a lick of English. But he's always, tweeting out this bullshit. It's all lies, you know what I mean? So, but he can't fight. He's on the other side of the fence, and he wouldn't fight him anyways. So who is he supposed to fight? So you got the kid who, without a doubt, and I'll tell you right now, Spence on this side of the pond is the best welterweight. I have him beating Thurman right now. If he was to go fight Brook's too big. Brook, I'm telling you right now, Brook is the best welterweight, and I say that because of his size. He walks around 8 pounds, between 8 and 5 pounds lighter than Triple G, and he's an inch shorter. Then you got Paulie fucking Malignaggi tweeting out like it's going to be some ass raping. You know what I mean? Oh, Jesus, nobody cares about people's health anymore. Shut the fuck up. You're going to jump up 2 weights to beat you clown?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just gotten ridiculous. I mean, you know what I mean? If half the fighting was as fierce in the ring as it is on Twitter, we wouldn't be so bored half the time. This is not a big deal. This is not a huge fucking thing that this dude is going up. It really isn't. He's an inch shorter than him. An inch. He's a little over 5'9". Triple G's a little over 5'10".
Jimmy, how competitive do you think the actual fight will be on Fight Night?
I don't think anybody at that weight class, anywhere near Triple G. Listen, I've been around boxing for decades. My grandfather is, in the Hall of Fame in New England as a trainer. My earliest memories of life, I had people on their knees showing me how to hold my chin down and throw the correct jab. I grew up watching Nicky fight. I spent hours in the gym. I trained in gyms. And I'm telling you, I am as impressed with every facet of Triple G as I have been with anybody in my lifetime. I'm telling you right now, I don't need to see him fight Hagler to see how nasty that kid is. Name one deficiency. Is he super fast? No. But he's accurate. And timing will beat speed anytime. And you know what I mean? And accuracy beats, but he's got power too. I'm telling you right now, I personally, right now, if they were in their prime, Hagler against Triple G, I have to give it to Hagler in a war, in a classic war. But I think Hagler is just, I can never go against Marvin. Joe understands. He's from Massachusetts. That's sacrilege.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? But I really rate this kid that high. He's the reason why I got back into boxing, man. I was done. Mayweather era, I was done. I have not watched one round of Mayweather since 2007. I think I've not seen him box since 2007. Please. Once he started, I'm done. I can't even bother with that shit. But anyways, Triple G is just, and these fighters know it. And like Joe, you said earlier about the press conference, like you said, that's huge. That's, monumental. Another world champion, to look at another world-level fighter and say he will knock us both out on the same day. He'd beat us both the same day. think of, like you said, Joe, but the severity of that's no joke. These people know it. So nobody wants to fight them. The Eubanks had zero intention to fight. When you have your own promoter come out and crucify you publicly, go on radio shows within 6 hours of signing the fight, saying, listen, we bent over. I did everything to make this fucking fight happen. Every term, he said that all the fights that he makes, in the same ones that Brook took, Eubank was playing games. It was just giving his name. Listen, there's a weirdness. I mean, just follow those clowns on Twitter. They beat up nobodies. They jump in uppercuts. It's bullshit. He was not going to serve his son up to Triple G. Absolutely was not. He wanted double the price of the tickets of the Anthony Joshua fight. Double prices. Whatever the top price ticket was, he wanted double. That was the last thing. That's the last thing they heard. And that's when he said, you got 24 hours, and he signed it. Brook's like, I'll take it. All right, let me ask you guys a question right now. All bullshit aside. At 160 or 154, Kell Brook against Eubank. Who wins?
Wow.
Eubank.
That's a tough one. I think Eubank could beat him. I think Eubank Jr.
Eubank Jr. It's too big.
Yep.
Too big, too strong. He's fast.
He's strong. He's just a harder hitter.
I would have to agree.
Yeah.
With
the resumes are fairly comparable. I mean, neither one of them have fought dynamite competition.
It's not something you would agree. It's not a whitewash, right? You would have to say,
I wouldn't think so.
Eubank with strength.
No.
So if you put it in that perspective, right, then why is Triple G that much? You know what I mean? We're not talking about some, Chocolatito jumping up to welterweight here. We're talking about somebody who walks around almost. If you saw them side by side, you would say, all right, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. Like who's the welterweight, who's the middleweight.
But let me say this to you, Jimmy. This is what I'm going to say to you. I understand 110% what you're saying about the size aspect, right? But think about it when you're moving into another weight class. You want to ease yourself into the weight class. He's going against the top guy at the weight class, number one. And number two, when you look at the styles, Kell Brook's style is a straight up and down textbook outside fighting type style. That is not going to give Triple G problems. It's just not going to give from a stylistic standpoint, and just the fact of him. I think Kell Brook would be a perfect size junior middleweight. I think Kell Brook is a small middleweight. I think Golovkin is an average size middleweight. He's not a big middleweight. Chris Eubank could be looked upon as a pretty decent sized middleweight. Whereas, as I said, Brook would be a small middleweight, and he'd be an average-sized junior middleweight, in my opinion. So, with all those things being said, I understand where you're coming from. It's not a ridiculous fight, but I just think that highly of Golovkin that I think he's too good. I think he's too good.
I agree with you. Let me say, trust me, when I heard this, it wasn't like, yes. I was like, come on. Only because it's just, and again, he's still an elite level fighter, Brook. But I just want to see one of those guys. Like how bad I was hoping Eubank was going to get in there. I knew in my heart. I said, remember last week? I think I said it when I called in. I said,
you were skeptical of it. You were definitely skeptical. I was optimistic about it, but you were totally skeptical. You were putting a damper on it, but you were right. You were right.
Look, are we ever going? In regards to Triple G, guys, let's be serious. Are we ever going to see a top middleweight have the guts to finally step in the ring and prove how good Triple G is, or is Triple G always going to have to find people to fight him?
Well, Danny Jacobs said he'd be ready for him in 2 years.
You know why? He's waiting for him to get old.
That's exactly what's going to happen. But listen, he's not a drinker. He doesn't party. He's not out like, you don't have to find him to go to work. You know what I mean? This is what he does. He's a professional fighter, and he's 34, but he didn't turn pro. He hasn't been in, until later in life, and he hasn't been in a lot of wars.
Never took any beatings either.
You.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Never took any beatings.
That's what ages
you. Never took any beatings.
Exactly. I mean,
I've got a question.
Yeah.
I've got a question, Danny Jacobs, too. This is where, and of course, everybody knows my feelings on the WBA and all the sanctioning bodies.
Oh, I can't stand the WBA.
Jacobs, the WBA, Danny Jacobs is the interim, or I guess he's the regular champion for the WBA.
Regular champion, yeah.
So he shouldn't be, and he's going to fight somebody else. then he should lose his belt, and I think he's going to defend his title against.
He's Sergio Mora. It's a rematch.
That's it, Sergio Mora. So he's going to have his title on the line. Whatever this title means, nothing. This title absolutely means nothing because Jacobs, in order to defend that title, has to go against Triple G because that's the mandatory. Because that's why you have the regular champions because they get the shot at the big champion. You don't get to defend
Canelo
that belt.
Gave up the belt. That's why Canelo gave up the WBC. Yeah.
The WBA would sanction a bum fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That's the worst of all the belts. But, Jacobs, any of them, Jacobs with Heyman, that's not going to happen. So then you look down the line. Canelo, obviously, I think Canelo will happen. It's just is really the same thing will happen in 168, and I understand the unification. I respect that, and I believe, like Loeffler says, once the unification happens, then he'll make, who knows, he might go down to 154 because he's a smaller, well, like you said, Joe, I agree with you there, small to average middleweight. He's not a big middleweight by no means. He could probably make 154. So if in 154, it's a lot more attractive. It's just that, he'd be killing himself to get down there. But, there's really nothing, Kell Brook, you can't get ready for that kind of power. That kid hits like it's amazing. You know what I mean?
Him and Canelo would have been a mega fight. Brook versus Canelo would be a mega fight. I would love to see that fight. That's a really interesting fight on paper.
That would be a hell of a fight, yes.
Because Brook is a lot more durable. He's a lot more durable than Khan, so that's why I think the fight's more interesting.
Oh, absolutely. And people comparing this Khan-Canelo saying, he's doing the same thing. No, Khan was getting rocked and put to sleep at 135 pounds as a lightweight. I mean, that's all he is. He hasn't had power since 140, so he basically went from lightweight up to 154, whatever the weight was, or 155.
Yeah.
It was a big difference. Kell Brook is a lot bigger than Khan, plus his chin, too, so... But, I'm not pumped about the fight. I wish it was something different. But and another question I pose to you, too, right now, just a question to ask you guys. I ponder this all the time. What fighters today can you say would carry in any generation, meaning you could put them in any generation of fighting? What fighters? My list would be, I would say Canelo. I'm not Canelo. Triple G, Kovalev, Chocolate Cheeto, Ward. Because I think Ward's that defensively talented. I mean, he's not a banger, but if you really look at it though, go down the line, and I'm saying and be competitive. If you think about it, man, we got a week. It's pretty weak right now. But listen, gentlemen, you guys doing a great show. I'll get off the line, let other people on.
Okay, thanks for calling, man.
Good point,
awesome.
Jimmy.
Great call as always. Great call as always, Jim.
I love him calling, man. He's great.
Absolutely. Now we're going to go back to the lines. 812, you're on.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Ringside Robbie, what's going on, man?
Not much.
Eric.
What's going on, man? How are you?
Guys, I'm not going to lie, man. When I heard the news Friday, I talked with Robbie Friday. This stuff excites me. I call me a sucker for boxing and what, but I love it, man. I'm actually... Beav, you're going to like what I'm about to say, but I'm becoming a UK fan. Like, I'm starting to follow these guys. Like,
join the club, baby. Join the club. We're going to welcome you with open arms. Welcome you with open arms.
Beeb's going to send you a Union Jack flag.
I admire. I like the UK. For one, they're awesome, man. Like the fans and just everything about the UK, the way they support their sports and their fighters, and I admire that a lot. And it's just like, for me, it's crazy how it's happened. I look at this as a big mega fight. If this fight was on pay-per-view, guys, I would tell you right now, I would order it. I'm real excited about it, and I got in a debate with a couple guys on another show where, and I said some crazy stuff like this. I said Kell Brook, to me, can beat any of Golovkin's opponents that he beat. That's how high I'm on Kell Brook. Like, to me, Kell Brook is up there he's up there, man. And I know I don't know much about as far as like styles and a lot of, but I look at Golovkin's opponents that he beat. Maybe his last 7 fights. You mean to tell me I think Brook can beat any of those opponents? You guys agree or disagree?
Joe, you make a good argument.
I tell you what,
you make a
that's
good
a
argument.
very good
you
argument.
Have a good argument.
I tell you,
no, I can't argue with that.
David Lemieux, I think he beats David Lemieux. I think he outpoints David Lemieux. Yeah, I think that's a very good argument. Now, whether he beats him or not, I don't know, but he's definitely in the fight with all of them for sure.
And here's the difference. Here's the difference between me and a lot of other people. Now, Joe likes the fight. I don't particularly like it. But I loved the Canelo fight, but a lot of people hated that. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Like, to each his own. Like, if you like this fight, I'm not going to sit there like, oh, you're crazy. How could you like it? No. You like the fight, all the power to you. I'm not here to tell you that you shouldn't like this fight. I'm just telling you, when I look at the styles, I don't see it as being competitive. But by no means will I ever insult anyone or criticize anyone that likes this fight. Because
let me jump in here.
It's a mixed bag. You like what you like in this sport. I'm sorry, go ahead, Eric.
Let me jump in here real quick. All right, so who is Triple G? I mean, let's take Kell Brook out of this for a second because we don't like I guess who he's fighting. Say, a lot of people are saying, well, Kell Brook, it's 147, he's coming up to 160. Who do we need to see Triple G fight that he wouldn't demolish? Give me one competitive fight.
I can't name anybody.
I mean,
Eubank
Jr. was not going to be a competitive fight. Everybody knows that. Let's go up a weight class. Let's say Badu Jack is not going to be competitive. DeGale, Ramirez would be the only one, and he's not competitive.
Yeah. I think at this particular time, when you look at this middleweight division, I think the most interesting fight for Triple G right now would be Danny Jacobs.
That's about it, but is Al Heyman going to do that?
I think Peter Quillen is an interesting fight. I still think he gets demolished. I think Danny Jacobs gets demolished. All these guys are going to get demolished. So what difference does it make who we put in front of him? I mean, whether we put Kell Brook, who's the best welterweight according to you guys, he's the best
you would think,
out there.
Billy Joe Saunders, you would think, would be a
Billy Joe
decent
Saunders
fight.
won't take. Number one, he won't take the fight. Now let's even take that off of the table. That Billy Joe Saunders and all these guys, Danny Jacobs, Billy, they won't even take the fight. Let's even take that off the table. Let's just fantasy here for a minute and say, okay, they are going to take the fight. I don't think Billy Joe Saunders stands a chance against Golovkin. I don't think any of these guys.
I think when you do a comparative analysis, when you take guys like Chris Eubank Jr., Billy Joe Saunders, and you take Danny Jacobs, and you look at those guys and you compare them to the other guys that Triple G has fought, you could argue that that's a gigantic step up.
Yeah, are you okay over there, Joe?
Yeah, I'm here.
If you look at it, what's Joe doing? Is he like blowing up balloons?
I don't know. That's why I asked. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Sounds like he's making animal balloons over there.
Oh, sorry, man. I'm always doing something, man. I'm sorry. No,
I love
guys,
Joe. I love him.
My thing is this, guys. I'm a big event guy. Like, I'm big on pay-per-views and I'm big on the attraction. But I'm more so happy that the UK gets this because they're already riding off the Anthony Joshua train, and now that Golovkin's coming to the UK, and then they're one of their biggest fighters, Kell Brook, these two guys are undefeated, which means somebody's old has to go. That's always going to sell. And call me crazy, but I think Brook lasts the whole 12 rounds. He may kill it. Who knows?
Okay.
He's a big guy, like you said it, Joe. He's a big guy.
I'm not completely against that either. I'm not sure Golovkin takes him out.
I think Golovkin stops him in 5. But Joe, let me just say this. This is what I like about you because you keep it real. You said something. You said you like big events. So we can agree that there is a difference between a super fight and a super event. We can agree on that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I get in arguments all the time with people, and they can't distinguish the two. And this is a big event. It's not per se a super fight. Now, to me, Ward Kovalev is a super fight because it's a 50-50 fight. It's two big names. You don't really know who's going to win. Now, when you have two big names in there, but there's a disparity in skill, or there's just a horrible style matchup for one of the two, then it's just a super event. And Joe called it like it is. He said, you know what? This is a big event. I like big events. And I can respect him for saying that. I can respect him for saying that.
And for the UK, it is a large event because in the UK it'll be on pay-per-view. Over here it'll be free. You know.
Now let me ask you guys this. Now let me ask you guys this real quick, and I want to hijack Joe's call. Last thing I'm going to say is let's take a look at Golovkin Canelo. To me, that's a super event. It's not a super fight. Do you guys agree? Yes or no?
I agree with that. Not a super fight at all. Everybody thinks that Canelo's going to get run over by Triple G.
Exactly.
But then again, Triple G is going to run over everybody. So again, I pose the question for those who think it's a horrible fight: what difference does it make who we put in front of? This guy is going to gobble up anybody he gets in front of him. It's just the way it is.
What fighter in his weight class or 168, 160 or 168, who's going to be the most difficult fight for Triple G? I don't think.
Danny Jacobs.
Well, will Al Heyman do that, Joe?
No.
Guys, am I crazy for saying this, that Kell Brook will be Golovkin's toughest opponent he's ever faced?
I wouldn't take it that far. I wouldn't take it that far. Yeah, you are, because I tell you what,
he could be right. We don't know yet, but he could be right.
Is the worst thing for Triple G actually the best thing that could happen to Triple G is if this fight goes the distance. That will be the best thing to happen to Triple G, because I believe he'll win. However, if this fight goes the distance, people will be knocking down the door trying to fight Triple G next because he could not knock out a welterweight. That is the best thing that could possibly happen.
I was going to say, why do you say that? And now it makes sense. You know. Now it makes sense.
I just think with Kell Brook, basically for the past year, he's been talking about this move up, right? So he's probably, I think will he come in way more than Golovkin on fight night?
Well, Joe, it was rumored that after one more fight at 147, he was going to move up to one. He was going to move up to 154 anyway. Go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say, and also too, don't forget there's a second weigh-in. There's a weigh-in on Friday for the fight. There'll be a weigh-in on Saturday for the fight. Neither fighter can weigh over 170 the morning of the fight.
Does the WBA do that too?
I love that.
The WBA does that too?
I don't know. I'm not sure who. Let me see if I got him on my notes here. Who sanctioned it or who's given that?
I know.
I don't have it. All I have is 170.
Okay.
No, you're correct though, Eric, because Golovkin does have the IBF title as well.
Yeah.
He's got the interim WBC title as well. So
he's got the full title now that Canelo gave it up.
Oh, that's correct. I apologize. You're 100% correct, Robbie.
Yeah.
You're 100% correct.
So guys,
so I know that. Go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead. So Kell Brook, none of Kell Brook's titles are on the line. Is it just Golovkin's title?
Yeah.
Just Golovkin's.
Yeah.
Just Golovkin's. Yeah.
It's the WBC, IBF, and WBA because Billy Joe Saunders has the WBO.
So if Kell Brook loses, it doesn't matter.
I'm a little slow with this. If Brook wins by decision, he gets all 3 belts?
That's correct.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, and then I guarantee you guys, when those tickets go on sale, I give it a minute before they sell out. They're gonna be Anthony Joshua numbers, man. I mean, this is like WrestleMania.
They could have put this fight in Wembley Stadium instead of the O2 Arena, and they could have easily got 100,000 people for this.
Easy.
Only, let me ask you guys this now too, because this question was asked to me by a guy named Liam on Twitter. He said to me, can Triple G become a name in the UK? If he beats Kell Brook, then he goes and beats Chris Eubank Jr., and then he goes after Billy Joe Saunders. Can they make him a household name in the UK?
The answer is yes, because, look,
yes.
Joe, name me a fight that Triple G has had anywhere that he's fought that he's never sold out the place. The UK will fall in love with this dude. And
because they treat their fighters better than we do. They're more appreciative of fighters than we are. So they may welcome him with open arms and give him a much more hospitable welcome and just really appreciate him more than we do. There's a lot of haters. A lot of fans hate him over here. You know what I mean?
And keep this in mind. We're going to have the contrast in styles because this weekend Guillermo Rigondeaux is fighting in Wales. what do you bet the people that go to that fight in Wales, they're going to walk away so disappointed because the guy doesn't fight the way they appreciate.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm excited, man. Like, I don't know. I called Robbie. Robbie, did I call you fighter or you called me? We called one of us called you.
Well, we've been exchanging basketball news all week back and forth, so I don't know who called who.
But no, I for me, I think it's good for the sport, especially coming off that great Thurman Porter fight. We get some momentum rolling in for the rest of the summer, and I'm like I said. I'm studying more of the UK, and I'm happy for the UK. The great people, great fans, and all praise to Kell Brook and for Golovkin. I mean, he's got a lot to lose too, guys. We've seen some crazy things happen in boxing, so I'm not going to just say that Golovkin's going to run through this guy because
and you know what? One thing to consider. I don't think it's going to go the distance, but one thing to consider: Kell Brook could very well get a hometown decision if it goes 12 rounds.
Yes.
Look at Robbie. Yes. Robbie is planting the seeds of controversy already. I love it.
Hey, Eric, what are you doing this Saturday?
I've got tickets to the FC Cincinnati game, man. The soccer game here. I've got that's the big news here in Cincinnati. We've got the Premier League Crystal Palace coming to town, so that's where I'll be. And after that, I'm going to watch the fight.
Okay.
Man, forget that, Rob. Hey, Eric, I'm coming to pick you up. We're going to Alabama, man. Watch Wilder and Areola, man. Come on.
That'll work, too. I'm sure I can unload those tickets.
That's going to be fighting here.
I don't think I'm going to make it. I want to go. It's a 5-hour drive, but I'm like, man, I just love being around at the fights. I brought this up last week. I love going to fights, but I may just wait till the next one coming. Hopefully, Devin Alexander returns to St. Louis in the fall or something. But
oh my
did you
God!
Guys did you give your prediction already on this weekend?
Oh, well, yeah, Wilder's
going
to
put
Wilder. Yeah, Wilder's going to put Areola to sleep.
And Kovalev. Yeah.
The over/under is 2 rounds. I'm taking the under.
Yeah.
What about Sammy Vasquez?
Yeah, I think he wins too.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sammy Vasquez.
Yeah, he wins too. Yeah.
I like Sammy. But you know what's funny is a friend of mine named Ryan Hong on Facebook. He likes Diaz in that fight. I don't see it, but he really likes Diaz. He was very impressed with Diaz against Peterson. So that's interesting.
Well, Diaz did do well against Peterson. So no, Sammy wins.
I like Sammy in the fight
guys,
though.
I'm gonna. I was working during the first hour of the show, so I'm going to go back and listen. But when I called in, I was listening to Jimmy's Corner, and he said that, in his opinion, he felt that Spence was the number one welterweight. I totally disagree. I still think it's one-time Thurman. And honestly, I think Spence's next test needs to be Sammy Vasquez. And Sammy Vasquez's next test needs to be Spence because Thurman right now. On another. I don't think
remember, Joe. Remember how the rankings were. If Spence wins his next fight, which he should, and because he's fighting Leonard Bundu, if he beats him, then he's the mandatory for Kell Brook.
Kell Brook.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
He has to.
I'm with
Bundu.
Joe. That Vasquez fight's not a bad fight. I think that's an interesting fight too. That's not a bad fight, Joe.
No, it's a good fight, but But
I think
the rankings
that Errol
are
Spence.
Away here.
I think Errol Spence is the best welterweight out there. And again, it's hard to say that. Like I said, I mean, you got Keith Thurman, who's got a really good resume now with Porter and with all the people he's fought. He's got a good resume. Kell Brook, he's a champion. He's a big guy. He's fighting Golovkin. It's tough to say. It's tough for me to prove and make a case for Errol Spence being the best welterweight. But I will say that I believe that Errol Spence is the best welterweight right now. I believe he can beat Thurman. I believe he will beat Brook. I believe he'll beat anybody in the welterweight division. Not only that, I believe he will beat them easily. There is nobody out there that will be able to compete with Spence.
Now, let's keep one thing in mind, guys. Do you think the reason why Brook took this fight to fight Golovkin is, do you think he was having trouble making 147? So this is his way of going to 154 after this fight?
No, I don't think so at all. I think this fight came together because Eddie Hearn jerked it up. He blew 2 fights, and this was his way of salvaging it, and that's to make this fight and throw Kell Brook to the wolves.
Okay.
Eric, let's be fair. Should we blame Eddie Hearn for Chris Eubank Jr.'s debacle?
Yes.
Or should we blame?
That's his father, right? His father.
Or should we? We should blame.
Yeah, but so let me just get this straight though. So he's supposed to say, okay, Mr. Chris Eubank Sr., you can put the undercard together. You can tell me how much the tickets are gonna cost. Like that's what I'm saying. Like this is what was being dictated to Eddie Hearn. So how is this Eddie Hearn's fault? I just don't see it.
It's a tough.
With all due respect.
Let me tell you what. This is a tough one because Eubank Jr. or Eubank Sr. I'm sorry. And we'll get into this in a few minutes about how what his demands were. But ultimately, I mean, you know, and I heard what Davey Boy X's tweet, because I tweeted you about this and said, you know, Hearn may be lying about this. Who knows what's true and what's not? He's been known to not tell the truth.
I don't think he's lying.
You know, but at the same time, he said, you know, Davey Boy X tweeted me back and said, hey, then you haven't been paying attention to Senior, you know. So this apparently is a big deal with Senior. Yeah. So
Senior's been like that.
Yeah, I don't know, but again, man, you're throwing Kell Brook, I believe, to the wolves. I believe you're throwing Kell Brook to the wolves, you know, on this whole thing.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, Eddie Hearn's saying to himself, I can just drop him back down after this fight. I think that's what Eddie Hearn's thinking in his mind.
But aren't you hurting
his
marketability?
Thing, though, man. Absolutely, you're hurting his marketability.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a tough thing because, not to mention, if he goes out there and gets blasted out in 3 rounds, man, I tell you what, I mean, for the guy who thinks he's the best in the world to go out there and because Kell Brook has a mindset, hey, I'm the best in the world, and to go out there and get starched like that, what's that going to do to you? You know,
but he's a safety first fighter. Like he's not a throw all caution into the wind type fighter. He's a cerebral fighter. He's a textbook boxing type fighter. So let me ask you this: say this fight plays out like the Martin Murray fight. Say this goes rounds and he gets stopped in 10 or 11. Does his stock go up or down?
It depends on where the fight goes. It depends on the way the fight goes. If he fights a good fight,
there's a lot of big ifs here. There's a lot of big ifs here.
It is. And, you know, the best thing, like I said, for Triple G to come out on the good end of this fight, he has to go the distance with Kell Brook. Because at that point, then the floodgates will open. And everybody will be banging on his door saying, this guy couldn't even knock out a welterweight.
I understand. You're correct.
I'm going to crush this guy.
That
would be the best thing to happen to Triple G. And it would also be the best thing to happen to Kell Brook. Because even though he'll lose the fight, you know, he'll probably go ahead and lose the fight. He'll come back. He will be bigger than ever at that point. That's a win-win. However, I don't know that that's going to be the way it goes. I don't know. And
Triple G may carry him. Triple G may carry him. He may carry him a few rounds.
Maybe.
Who knows? Because remember, it's a brand new market for him. He wants to make new fans in a new country. You know, who knows?
Right. Absolutely, Joe. We're going to go ahead and move on,
Sorry
man.
about that, man.
That's okay.
Cars. I know I'm making a lot of noise back here, but no.
Yeah,
it's all good, brother.
Thanks for taking my call, and
all right.
Let's go, Kell Brook. I predict him to win by decision.
Oh my God!
There
okay.
it is. I love it.
I love it.
UK, baby.
I'm on the UK train, B. I love it.
It is.
We welcome you. We're going to give you some bangers and mash and a cup of tea with crumpets. We'll welcome you in. We'll welcome you in.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, see you later.
All right, man.
Wow.
Beautiful. All right, so here we go. Eubank, now, you brought up a good point about Eubank Jr. We're going to go into this real quick, and then we'll get back to the phones here. Eubank Jr., Hearn blames Eubank Sr. for the fight falling through. He states that Eubank Jr. made some ridiculous demands and the fight was impossible. He says Eubank Jr. wanted to set the ticket prices higher. Hearn said he was unhappy with the money. However, Hearn's track record of dropping fights, big fights, I don't know what to make of this. Davey Boy Essex tweeted me earlier, and like I said, he's over in Britain. He's in the know. He said that this is pretty standard for Eubank Sr., that, you know, and Eubank Sr. wanted to set ticket prices. He wanted more money. He wanted, every time and Loeffler also said this too, every time they were set to go, ready to sign, some other ridiculous demand would come out. He wanted a cut of the pay-per-view. And he said also, too, like if he could get it, and Hearn said that if he wanted a bigger cut with Sky, he had no problem with that. But he has to negotiate that with Sky. He has nothing to do with that. So, yeah, he wanted the undercard. As Beeb said, he wanted the undercard and everything like that. That's a tough one, man. So that may not have been his fault. But I still don't know. No, I can't, because I still don't know. He lets that promotion go, and he's going to let Chris Eubank go because he couldn't make the fight. But did he really have the best interest of his fighter in this instance? I don't know that he did. Because I don't know that this ends, this is a big if.
Let me ask you this. So there were a lot of demands being made by Chris Eubank Sr. In your opinion, do you think that if Eddie Hearn maybe said, okay, we're not going to give you this, this, and this, but we'll give you this, do you think if he did that, then the fight could have happened?
Maybe, maybe not. From everything that I'm hearing about Chris Eubank Sr. and everything and these crazy demands and everything like that, maybe not. But what he should have done, what would have been in the best interest of Kell Brook, would be to make the Vargas fight. Because what he couldn't do is convince Kell Brook to take less money. Even though the guy is coming with a title. And again, it's a penny wise, pound foolish in my view, because if you give Vargas more money, slightly more. We're not talking about $1 million more. We're not talking about $500,000 more. We're talking about a small cut more. Okay, so he goes over there, he defeats him. Now he's the money man in the welterweight division. Now the welterweight division's got to come through you. It's a big deal. That's a big deal because now he has 2 belts.
Eric, do I have this right? Wasn't Vargas supposed to make $2 million and Kell Brook was supposed to make about 1.5 or 1.7 or something like that?
I don't even think it was that broad. I think it was like a 1.8, I think they were both fairly equal. I think that Vargas was a little more equal than Brook.
Okay, all right. Yeah, no,
so,
because
to me that's the smarter path for Kell Brook. It's a bigger, you're getting titles, you're getting titles, you're going to line up bigger fights. You have a big name on your record, Jesse Vargas. It's not JoJo Dan anymore. It's not Frankie Gavin. It's another champion. You've unified the titles. You go straight forward.
Yeah.
And then the money, the welterweight division is yours. Now people are knocking on your door instead of you knocking on theirs. But now you're going to go and throw your fighter to the wolves.
Yeah, and now it looks like Vargas is going to rematch Bradley, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, nobody wants to see that fight either. Nobody wants to see it.
Is that fight going to happen for real, Robbie? Is that being talked about, really?
Hey, Joe, that's what I keep
talked about.
That's what I'm hearing, yeah.
Oh,
well,
Vargas is fine.
That's very interesting. Very interesting.
619.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey.
What's up, buddy?
Chacal from Tijuana. How are you?
Chacal, what's going on,
buddy?
This is the guy.
Let Robbie have it.
Chacal.
Let Robbie have it.
Chacal, hold on. Chacal told me as I'm driving the other day, he says, what do you think about, did you hear the news? And I was completely clueless. I was on the road at the time. My wife and I were going somewhere, and I said, what is he? And I had Lisa text me back. Like, what is he talking about, And he said Triple G, and she read to me Triple G versus Kell Brook. I was like, I almost wrecked the car. I was like, what? So he always breaks the news to me. He always breaks the news. Let him have it. Let Robbie have it, like you were telling me. Go ahead. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like I don't want to be like the negative person about this, but I seriously after listening to the last call with Joe. I mean, I like that guy. He's very positive and everything, and it's actually really nice that boxing has fans like him. But at the end of the day, that's what is making boxing right now not good. Because what happens is that now that's what it makes the promoters to make these kind of fights. And, if we have that many fans like that they say it's good. I mean, it's not good. This is not a good fight. This is not good for boxing. I don't think so. And, the same way it was criticized, the fight between Canelo and Khan, I think, this fight needs to be criticized as well. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be the standard.
That's what I said at the beginning of the show. I said, look, I can't criticize if I'm going to criticize if I'm going to criticize Canelo fighting Liam Smith, then I've got to criticize Triple G fighting Kell Brook. You know. That's
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's even worse because I think it's even worse fighting Kell Brook than fighting Liam Smith because of the fact that jumping 2 divisions. I don't think it's something that should be happening. Especially because we're getting confused with something, and this is what it pissed me off a lot when Khan fought Canelo, and that's why I didn't go to the fight. And I think it was at the moment when I started calling the show. You guys started around that with that fight. So I mean, what I didn't like, that was the first fight I didn't go of Canelo that I was going for last 5 or 6 fights. And the reason why I didn't do it is because I hated the way Oscar and Canelo moved the whole thing to take advantage and getting an event like that. Like what Beef said. This is not a super fight. This is an event. And, at the end of the day, we need to, if we love the sport, we need to stop caring so much about how much fighters win, and make money, about how many pay-per-views they sell. Because if you think about it, that's the conversations that we usually have recently on boxing. It's just like, how much money is this? How much is this? How much is that? At the end of the day, we're not on the payroll of the guys. We are just fans, and we deserve the good fight. And, when I started watching boxing, we didn't care too much. I didn't care about how much money Eric Morales did when he fought Marco Antonio Barrera. I just wanted to see when the fight was going to be signed and when they were going to fight, and then who is going to fight next. If he was going to fight the Prince or what was going to happen. And right now, it's pretty pathetic that the boxing is turning into this way. And, at the end of the day, when I hated when people start saying like, oh my God, how much balls Khan had for facing Canelo. The guy was in a win-win situation. He went for the paycheck, and the only thing that he was gonna lose was the fight, and hopefully he was not gonna get hurt. Because at the end of the day, if you would have gone to distance with Canelo, everybody was gonna criticize Canelo. If he was gonna get knocked out, everybody was still gonna criticize Canelo because at the end of the day, it's like he was the bigger guy. So I think this is the same thing that is happening here, and people, they start going the same route with Brook, saying like, oh my God, he has so much balls. He might be the best welterweight, but we don't know it. Kell Brook is not the Gennady Golovkin of welterweight. He still needs to face Keith Thurman. He still needs to face Danny Garcia. He still needs to face a lot of people that maybe he has the edge on beating them, but we don't know for sure. If I'm telling you, do you know for sure that Kell Brook will beat Keith Thurman? I don't think we can just make a statement saying, yeah. And, and there's still, Pacquiao is still there, that is still winning, and, he's still there kicking. And, these guys just go and jump the whole welterweight division. He jumped the junior middleweight, which, there is a couple of fighters there that we don't know if he can even beat, and he goes all the way to 160 to fight Golovkin. I think he's just doing it for the money. I don't know, guys. What do you guys think?
No, I would have to agree. That's why I'm critical of this, because what does this prove for Kell Brook? What does this prove for Golovkin? You're supposed to be fighting middleweights. You're supposed to be fighting Chris Eubank Jr. You're supposed to be fighting Billy Joe Saunders. You're supposed to fight Danny Jacobs, people in your own weight class. Why fight somebody 2 weight classes below you?
Well, can I jump in here for a minute? Can I answer that?
Yeah, sure.
May I?
Yeah,
Let me
go
jump
ahead.
in here.
Sure you can.
He's fighting somebody from 147 because nobody else will fight him. Nobody.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
Give me one name
Can I?
that's going to step. Chris Eubank Jr. would not fight this guy. Arislan Lara has been calling this guy out, will not fight him. Billy Joe Saunders makes fun of everybody because they've been offered.
He's not going to fight him.
Billy Joe Saunders was offered. Billy Joe Saunders was offered $5 million to fight,
and he turned it down.
$5 million, and he turned it down. Danny Jacobs won't even talk about it. They interviewed him. He's not even. You can tell by the interviews. They're not. They're not interested. They're not interested in these fights. So you really have nobody out there. You got one guy, and he's from 147 to fight him. And by admission, again, and I'll go back to the same point, who on earth do we put in the ring with Golovkin who's going to stand a chance from 168 on down, that is not going to suffer the same fate as Kell Brook on September 10th? Nobody.
Well,
no, there's definitely nobody.
Fight.
Well, I rather not necessarily, Eric. I disagree with that because I think what I was putting you in the chat. I mean, I think just for nature, like physically, somebody that is bigger than Golovkin is supposed to have a better shot than somebody that is smaller. You know what I mean? So if you mention somebody from 168, I'd rather have him fighting anybody from 168 if there is the case that there is no other opponent than a guy that is coming from 147. That's my opinion because at least he will have the physicality. He will be the bigger guy.
Right.
He might be able to assimilate better the punch of Golovkin, and he might be able to hurt Golovkin with a punch. We don't know for sure there. You know, I know nobody has in 168 the talent except when Andre Ward was there that we can say, like, you know what, this one is actually going to beat him, but at least, you know, it compensates that better, the physicality against, you know, the lack of talent. It makes him a little bit more even. I'm just tired of seeing the fights of Golovkin when the odds are 101. You know, like all his fights. And, you know, and going back to what you were saying, we don't know for sure, unless you have information that I haven't read, we don't know for sure that Lara didn't want to fight. Because the first thing that he did after Golovkin picked Brook, he went to his Twitter and he put, you know what, you're picking a 147-pound guy, and you didn't want to pick me that I was just 6 pounds away from you. So, I mean, why he didn't call his bluff and say, okay, let's fight. How much do you want? This is what I have for you. And kind of expose him the way they expose Eubank. You know, like, hey, I already signed the contract. Did you lose your pen? Or something, you know, so the guy will shut up. Because, I mean, we know that Lara, that's the way he did. And, you know, that's how he got his fight with Canelo. That's how, he's been fighting pretty much, if we know Lara, before Canelo time, he's been fighting anybody that they put him in front of him. So, I mean, if he's been chasing Golovkin for so long, I'm not saying that Lara will beat him, but at least Lara will make it a more interesting fight for me because he will expose Golovkin. And you know what? At the end of the day, it will save for me what could be a better career in Kell Brook because, like you said it, I mean, yeah, he's going there and he might get whacked. But what if, for example, I mean, the easiest thing for him will be to get knocked out in like 2 rounds and then that's it. I'm going back with my paycheck. But what about if he gets beat up like Cotto got beat up with Margarito or gets beat up like, for example, Cotto got beat up with Pacquiao? You know, those type of beat-ups, they ruin careers. And he had a very prominent career in welterweight. He had a really good chances of doing something better in junior middleweight and maybe in the future 2-3 years being somebody in middleweight. You know, why just rush it just to make money or to make an event? Because this is what it is. It's just a circus and it's not helping anybody. And in my opinion, I think Eddie Hearn did a terrible mistake as a promoter doing this. I don't think Bob Arum or Don King would ever done something like this. You know, risk your card just to go. That's why Don King never put this guy Chavez against Terry Norris and those guys because he knew that he was gonna get damaged. Not because Chavez was not a good fighter. You know, you need to understand how to do matchups, and this is ridiculous. I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean that was my thing all along is that Eddie Hearn is a horrible promoter, and you may say, well, he salvaged the card. He salvaged the card, but he, you know, but at the expense of his fighter, because like I said, Jesse Vargas is a much better fight for Brook than Triple G. Jesse Vargas is not going to make as much money, but he will make more money down the road because he's collecting 2 belts at that point. You know, and then he opens up the floodgates for any other welterweight that got to come through England. He becomes the A side because he's got 2 belts. You know, and he opens up bigger fights like that.
Eric. He can still do that.
He's not going to be his market. No, I disagree with that. I disagree with that completely.
Okay.
Look, where's Amir Khan? If that's the case, then where's Amir Khan's big money fight?
Yeah, did you see that?
After getting dropped by Canelo.
Yeah, did you see the mentality of Amir Khan after he got beat up by Canelo? He's like, oh, then maybe I just need to do 2 more fights and I'm gonna retire. So I mean, like basically, you knew you were gonna lose and you fooled everybody by going and fighting. It's the same thing that Brook is doing.
Amir Khan still could have fought Danny Garcia if he wanted to. The mandatory.
Yeah, that hasn't changed. That hasn't
changed. Still mandatory. You know,
but that's the problem. But that's the problem.
We're basing the problem here is we're basing our opinion off of the notion that Kell Brook is going to get waxed, which I think he's going to get waxed. I still think the career can be salvaged. I really believe that. I just see it differently.
So you don't think he can get damaged in a way that, like, I mean, did you see, for example?
I do think he's going to get damaged.
Do you think,
like I said, what happens if he goes in there and gets KO'd in 3 rounds? This is a guy who thinks he's the best on the planet right now, which is Kell Brook.
Yeah.
Thinks in his mind, which he should because he's a champion. He thinks he's the best fighter around. He can do no wrong. He can go up to 160. He's going to show the world he's going to beat Triple G. If he gets knocked out within 3 rounds, what do you think his mental state's going to be like afterwards? Good luck picking up the pieces.
Yeah.
How many times fighters never come back?
We'll have to see,
from beatings like that.
Yeah.
Because remember, Tommy Hearns got knocked out in 3 rounds by Hagler. He went on to win 3 more titles.
Yeah, I know that.
Do you remember?
Very good point.
Do you remember Melbrick Taylor against Chavez?
Do I remember?
You remember Melbrick Taylor versus Terry Norris?
Yeah.
Do you remember that Melbrick Taylor versus Terry Norris?
Yeah.
Of course.
Exactly.
But
that's what I think is going to. Do you remember?
Melbrick Taylor did win a welterweight title though. He did win a welterweight title after losing to Chavez. He came back.
Yeah, but he was definitely never the same. Who was that? Who did he fight? Simon. Who was
Simon
that?
Brown. Simon Brown.
No, it wasn't Simon Brown. Brown. He didn't fight Simon Brown.
I know who you're talking about. He fought not Glenwood Brown, but he fought another guy. He fought another guy at welterweight, Crisanto Espana.
Crisanto Espana is the one that beat him. Yeah, Crisanto Espana. Yeah, Crisanto Espana is the one that knocked him out before the time.
Look at pulling these names out like it was yesterday. This was in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, do you remember Napoles against Monzon? I think that's what is going to happen.
Yeah.
Eric, you know what?
I mean?
I have to say this. You have a valid point, and you could be right. It's going to be a crapshoot trying to figure this out. We'll just have to see how it plays out. You could be right.
Aaron Davis. Aaron Superman Davis was the one he went up and won
That's it.
That's where he won the title.
He beat Aaron Davis. He beat Aaron Davis.
And then he fought, but by and large, and especially after the Terry Norris fight, definitely was not the same.
Then
but after the Chavez fight, everybody agreed.
Crisanto Espana, the big beast.
Absolutely.
That guy was huge, too. He was like 5'11".
He was huge.
He was a big welterweight.
Did you see? I mean, easily, for example, Don King could have put Melbrick Taylor and Chavez right away the rematch. Why did he wait so much? You know what I mean?
Well, because you remember Melbrick Taylor was with main events back then. He was with main events back then, and he didn't go over to Don King until later.
Don King in main events always had issues. Always had issues.
I see.
They were a powerhouse back then, main events. Remember that? They had him, they had Whitaker, they had Breland.
Holyfield.
What a stable they had. They were so good.
Yeah, they had all the Olympians. All the Olympians.
They had Virgil Hill for a little while too.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fight. I mean, I definitely don't agree with the fight. I mean, Golovkin is in a situation where, like, basically, I understand his point because at the end of the day, I mean, like, the guy needs to get, needs to fight, needs to stay active, and then, how is he gonna say no to a paycheck like that? You know what I mean? But at the same point, it's like, I blame Eddie Hearn for making the fight happen because I think you're not taking care of your fighter because the way you guys said it, like I think the right path would be go and get Vargas. I mean, if you were not able to talk your fighter and convince him, you know what, you're gonna do this one right now, and it doesn't matter if Vargas makes a little bit more money because he will give you the edge in the future because you're gonna have 2 titles, and you're gonna start kind of doing the same thing that Tom Loeffler did with Golovkin, kind of cornering everybody by taking titles away from them, and then eventually make the fights happen. But, instead of him, he just sent them into the wolves with Golovkin. I don't get it.
But let me just jump in real quick, though, because at the end of the day, the promoter works for the fighter. And Kell Brook really wanted this fight. He asked for this fight. So, I mean, again, I'm coming to Eddie Hearn's defense a lot tonight and I know I'm looking like I'm on the payroll, and you think I got a check in the mail that says Match from Boxing on it with Joe Deeb and right to pay to the order of. But I'm just being honest. Kell Brook really wanted this fight, so did Eddie Hearn do his job? Did he do what the fighter asked him to do? Did he do his job? If that's the case.
I disagree.
Well, yeah,
I disagree. Eddie Hearn is supposed to look out for the fighter. Eddie Hearn is supposed to have the best interest of the fighter.
Remember, Eric, he's the promoter, not the manager. The manager looks out for the fighter. The promoter just puts on the best shows. Think about it.
Then that means, So then that means that Al Haymon is not doing his job with Lara because Lara has been asking for Triple G for so long and they can't make it happen?
Well, it's a two-way street, brother. I mean, I don't think Triple G's, rushing to fight Lara either.
Well,
that's what I wanted to hear too, because that's what I think. I think it's a two-way street with everything. We
interviewed Tom Loeffler a year or two ago, and we asked him about Laura, and he said they'd never gotten any phone calls, they'd never gotten any emails.
Yeah.
There's been no conversation.
He said the same thing about Andre Ward, but Andre Ward seems to be saying something different too. So who knows?
Exactly, and publicly. So I mean, I don't know. I think at the end, Tom Loeffler is doing his job as a promoter. Like making the name of Triple G bigger from time to time. But definitely right now, I mean, what I was talking to a friend before is like, okay, I want to see now the people that are supporting Canelo and Leon Smith. How are they going to support this fight? And I was like, you know what? No, let's not focus that way. I think we should focus on the people that was criticizing Canelo Khan. How are they going to criticize this fight as well? Because I think if the Golovkin fans should also criticize this fight, because I don't think it's the best thing for Golovkin. He was like a couple of weeks ago talking in a show about how Canelo is fighting smaller fighters, and then he's going and doing the same thing. So I don't think it makes a lot of sense. I rather would have seen him fighting somebody bigger than him, than even Chavez Jr., than this guy, because at least, you have something like a puncher's chance or something. This guy, means a lot more in welter and in the other junior division than fighting Golovkin, in my opinion.
I'm going to give Golovkin a pass here because I think that he made every effort. I think Team Golovkin made every effort to make the Chris Eubank Jr. fight happen, which would have been an outstanding fight on paper. I still think he would have won, but it just would have been a better fight. I mean, Chris Eubank Jr. is bigger than Golovkin. I'm not going to go back into it, but I just think it would have been a better fight. I think they tried to make that fight. I think they tried to make Billy Joe Zarnes fight. I think they've been asking for Danny Jacobs. Who else was out there? I mean, even Sharana Johnson. He's not a big middleweight either. He's pretty small. He's not a big guy.
Right.
He's about 5'9" too, so it's not like he's a small middleweight himself.
Yeah.
Who was really not a big puncher. So I understand the criticism. I could see people not being crazy excited about the fight, but I don't think it's fair to really point fingers at anybody involved in this situation, in my opinion, because there was really I understand Eric's point about Brook maybe fighting Vargas and then fighting. I understand that, so I'll agree with Eric on that. That is a valid point. But in terms of the Triple G side, I don't think we can really get too upset with them. I understand the hypocrisy, that could be thrown out there, but at the end of the day, what else was there for him? There was nothing else there for him. And again, credit to Loeffler because he's not going to let Golovkin sit on the shelf. They're going to keep him busy, and I applaud Team Golovkin for doing that. I think it's a great move.
Yeah, I guess when you break it down like that, what more can you say?
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
too, but go ahead, Chico.
Like I said, at the end, if you look at it from the perspective of Team Golovkin, I mean, how can you refuse to a fight like this? Like they putting you in silver platter. They're like, hey, you have Brook, and regardless if you're gonna make less money than him, who cares? You still have a good paycheck, and you're still gonna get paid. It's like the same thing with Eubank Jr. He was still gonna make good amount of money, even then Eubank was gonna make, I think, more than him. And it's still a fight that it might be, an easy business for Golovkin. It's just like I feel as a hardcore fan, reps off. You know what I mean? Because I hate to see Brook fighting Golovkin and getting whacked, either knocked out or getting, all like cut or whatever. Like, for example, when we were talking about Vargas and Salido, that was an amazing fight, but it could have cost Vargas his career because now with all those, cuts, you never know how he's going to become after that in the next fight. So, I mean, Brook had a brilliant future in the welterweight, and I really wanted to see him there because I don't think he's such a big name yet. Like it's just everything is in assumptions. Like, oh, he will be Thurman. Oh, he will be this. Well, I mean, if we're just going to be talking about that, we're never going to have fights. But I want to see him actually fighting Garcia because how many times have we calmed Garcia down and he comes back and he wins somehow, some way. So, I mean, I want to see somebody taking the title because if you think about it, I mean, the only name on Brook's resume is Porter. And, Porter just got beat by Thurman. So, I mean, who's going to tell us that Thurman cannot beat Brook as well? You know what I mean? It's like I thought Porter was going to beat Thurman because of the inactivity, and it seems that nothing – I mean, it didn't matter. Like, after 3 rounds, the fight was close.
It was a razor-close fight, though.
It was not because of inactivity. It was – exactly. So, I mean, you even mentioned Errol Spence right now. And just to add a little bit more to the show, you guys were mentioned that Vargas was going to go back and fight Bradley. I just read an article like 2 days ago that now Bob Arum is saying that Vargas might fight Pacquiao. So I'm like, do you see what he made? Fucking Brook is screwed up the whole division now. I mean, I was expecting Pacquiao against Broner, and then I was expecting, Vargas against Brook, maybe something will happen in the future. Now we're going to have shooting fights.
Cal's calling Brook the Grinch that stole Christmas. This is hilarious. I love it. But he's right. He's right.
If I get Pacquiao Vargas, yeah, definitely. I'll be very pissed.
What will you do?
Because I was excited about Pacquiao Broner.
Will you go to Top Rank? Will you go to Top Rank and petition outside of Top Rank if that happens?
Well, the only thing that I believe that is not going to happen is because I don't think Bob Arum will dare to have another pay-per-view so bad like the one he had with Bradley.
Yeah,
and you know that if he puts Vargas with that one, it will be ridiculous. That will be a shitty pay-per-view, and I mean, it definitely is not a good business. But I mean, the rumor is there, and like this one, nobody saw it coming, and it happened. So right now, nothing surprised me. It's like it's really sad. The same way, like I heard that in the Canelo fight against Smith, they're saying that maybe Billy Joe Saunders will fight there in that card. You guys heard that maybe Lemieux will be the fighter?
Yeah,
what do you guys know about that?
I heard Lemieux and Billy Joe Saunders. That's the rumblings.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good fight. I like that fight.
Yeah.
So then, who do you think will win there?
With Lemieux and Billy Joe Saunders?
Yeah.
I like Saunders.
I like Saunders too, man. I think it's a good fight, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saunders has got that.
Not a walk in the park.
Such a good boxer. No.
And then Canelo can have it. Then Canelo could have his warm-up in May against Saunders for Saunders' title.
Well, you guys heard that Canelo, I mean, that there were also rumors that Canelo, I mean, at the end, everything is rumored, right? But, I mean, they were saying that Canelo wants to fight in December as well, and they were putting Billy Joe Saunders as the next one. So, I mean, if you put in Billy Joe Saunders against the news, that's not like an easy fight for him. So then if he's going to fight him after a loss, if he loses against Lemieux?
Tom Loeffler has gone on record saying that Daniel Jacobs and Billy Joe Saunders are priorities. So, and I know Golovkin wants to fight again in December. They want him busy. They want him to fight again in December.
That's right. That's what I've heard. So, yeah.
But if he loses his title against Lemieux in September, then there is no reason for Golovkin to fight Saunders, right?
Yeah, but what if he beats Lemieux?
He'll go after the title.
There's a good chance he's going to beat Lemieux too. You know what I mean? So
very good chance.
not only that,
then he'll go after Lemieux again.
If he fights Billy Joe Saunders, does that be at the full limit? Will that be at the full limit, or will that be the 155? How's that going to work out? You know?
I don't know. That's a good. Hey, look, if you're going to prepare to fight Golovkin and you want it in September, you've got to start fighting middleweights. You can't keep doing this.
That's the middleweight limit.
I wanted to say something with regards to that I didn't call that last show. And it's because, I think that's what they said, and probably could happen. I don't know now. But, I think also it's because they were hoping to do something with Pacquiao. So that's why they maintained Canelo with low weight. to see if something was going to happen. And, like answering to one of your questions that you said, Robbie, about why in the hell they were doing pay-per-view against Liam Snead, I don't think it's because of Liam Snead. It's because of the date. You know what I mean? Because they're fighting in September 16. And September 16 and Cinco de Mayo needs to be a fight that has pay-per-view.
Yeah,
because
I know that.
In my opinion, I think just itself, regardless to who you're fighting, that fight will sell at least 200 to 300,000 pay-per-views just because of the date. Because people get together to watch boxing.
Party.
So, I mean,
right.
that's what I think.
Big party, and they expect boxing on those days.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Regardless if they hate the opponent with Canelo and everything, they're just going to go. The Mexicans are just going to go and sit down, do their carne asada, and they're going to be like, okay, let's watch boxing, let's watch Canelo. You know what I mean? And they get together, and that's why they got those dates. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Are you going to travel in September to go see that?
You know what? I said that I was going to boycott everything that has to be with Canelo fighting smaller weights and everything. But at the end of the day, if they put a good undercard, like, they were saying,
look
like,
at this.
For example,
He's got the sickness like the beat. He can't resist.
Well, Billy Joe Saunders against Lemieux, and then they were mentioned, for example, Kamegai against Soto Karass, number 2 there.
Oh, I like that. I like that, yeah.
Yeah,
I like that.
Too,
right?
And then I heard rumors also here from buddies and TJ that they were thinking on maybe Salido versus Miura. I mean, how can you say no to that?
Wow.
I mean,
look
it's
at the inside track this guy's giving us.
I told you, he's my informant,
know,
man. I'm telling you.
I don't know, guys.
Put you on the payroll, brother. We got to put you on the payroll.
You need to write for the website, man. That's cool stuff.
Well, I told you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, thanks a lot. I mean, the show is great, amazing, and you know what? Like, I'm a little bit pissed off about the card, but I mean, what's gonna happen here with Brook? But like, there's other fights that are coming as well, and it's just gonna have to suck it up, right? Like all the other ones that was like.
All we can do.
What a contrast in calls. We had Joe coming on, being the happy-go-lucky guy, and we had Cal bringing the reality. Not saying that Joe was being unrealistic, but we had both sides of the coin, basically.
And then we had Jimmy's corner,
and it made for good radio. So
and we had Jimmy's corner.
Callers.
So that was good.
I want to thank both callers. Jimmy always bringing the truth as well.
Yeah.
Great calls tonight from everyone.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely,
well, guys,
man. Thank you for calling, buddy.
Show, and who do you guys think is gonna win? Well, it's still a little bit far away on the Ward and Kovalev, but since Kovalev is fighting
Andre Ward, we're on the Ward train here.
Till I see Ward beat,
yeah.
Till I see Ward beat, I can't go against him, man.
Robbie,
he's
who do you
won
like?
a lot of big fights, got the better resume. Robbie hates
too early for me to say yet.
I think Robbie likes
Kovalev.
I think Robbie's leaning Kovalev. Robbie's leaning Kovalev.
Yeah, he's leaning Kovalev.
He's leaning Kovalev. He just doesn't want to disagree with the Beeb and Eric. That's why.
He puts Ward and Canelo in the same place, man.
It's still the boogeyman of the Golovkin.
I love Andre Ward as a fighter. I think Andre Ward always finds a way to win. He's probably one of the smartest fighters I've ever seen. I love Andre.
Well, he's going to have a nice warm up with Alex. He's going to have a nice warm up with Alexander Brand. I mean, that's really impressive, Andre.
I look at Isaac Chalemba. What about Isaac Chalemba? That's a powerhouse right there. Get out of here.
What about
thanks for calling, buddy.
Hey, thank you.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
All right. What awesome calls we've had tonight, guys.
Awesome, baby. All right. So, also, too, just some notes here. Of course, the fight is going to take place, Triple G and Brook I'm talking about, will take place at 160 and will be televised on HBO. The Saturday weigh-in, there will be a Saturday weigh-in. Either fighter cannot weigh over 170 the morning of the fight. So, yeah, and Billy Joe Saunders, I love Billy Joe Saunders because he's like the biggest troll on the internet. He blasted Canelo for not fighting Triple G. Now he's blasting Eubank Jr. for not fighting Triple G. The best part about this is he had the opportunity to fight Triple G and he didn't take it. So
yeah, and remember they were in a news conference and Billy Joe said, "Hey, we both get knocked out on the same night. So what's up?"
Yeah,
right.
That's never going to go away. That soundbite. That's
there's been some divisiveness between Eubank Jr. and Kell Brook, as you can imagine. Of course, there's been a Twitter war, which there always is. Chris Eubank Jr. said, Triple G, after you're done bullying Kell Brook and you're ready for a fight with a real middleweight, I'll be here. # pick on someone your own size. Kell Brook shot back. Chris Eubank, you never wanted the fight. I'll show you how to deal with Triple G. Eubank, of course, replied, as a fellow Brit, I wish you nothing but the best, Kell, but everyone knows now what's going to happen to you. # too small. Brook says, you're wrong, my friend. You've got to remember I'm a huge welterweight. I'm a huge welter. Weight won't be an issue. Chris Eubank, welterweight is not a middleweight. Golovkin should be allowed to fight you, and everyone will see why in September. Should not be allowed to fight you, and everyone will see why. Kell Brook says, Chris Eubank, you're a British champion. I'm a world champion, brother. Let me show you how to fight. Tune in September 10th. Eubank then, of course, ends it, says, well, Brook, good luck. Coming for the winner. How about that?
Do you think there's a possibility that after this fight that you see Brook and Eubank actually fight one another, say at a catchweight or something?
Possibly. But
I
don't know.
Matchmaker. Robbie's putting the matchmaker cap on.
And I heard rumblings, and I haven't had it confirmed yet, but I've heard rumblings that Chris Eubank Sr. has fired Eddie Hearn, which I think was a good move anyway. I don't know if that's true or not.
Come on, that's the best promoter in boxing. Why would you want to fire him?
Oh, my God. Best promoter in boxing.
I love Eddie Hearn.
Hey,
I'd rather
Joe,
have a chimp promoting me than Eddie Hearn. All right? There you go.
Hey, Joe,
hates Eddie Hearn. Why do you hate Eddie Hearn so much? Why?
He's a wanker. He's such a wanker.
Hey, Joe, think about this.
All right? There's language you'll understand.
Hey, Eubank could hook up with Frank Warren, okay? There you go.
Come on, Robbie. Come on.
Who's the one that became a woman now? Who was that? He used to do Lennox Lewis.
What the hell is that guy's name? Oh, God.
Frank Maloney.
Oh, the hell is
Frank Maloney.
Frank Maloney. Wow, yeah. Remember him?
I don't know what his name is now. I don't know what her name is now.
Oh,
but she became a woman. She's like Bruce Jenner. Yeah, so there you go. All right.
Anyway,
I'm going to leave that one alone.
Too.
All right. We're going to move on now from the Brook Triple G saga, and I'm sure there'll be more definitely on this in the future, as it has dominated our show. We're going to talk about now our train wreck of the week, my favorite segment. And the train wreck of the week this week belongs to none other, because this was the big story. This was the big story prior to Eddie Hearn jerking things up. The big story was John Jones, and he is our train wreck of the week. John Jones, who tested positive literally hours, days before UFC 200. He is the main event with Daniel Cormier. He tested positive for PEDs.
He's got the dirty pee-pee.
Right, he tested positive.
I love it.
Tested positive for PEDs, not necessarily steroids, but two banned substances were found by USADA on June 12th. The B sample was tested and came back with the same result. What did you hear anything, or what was it?
I don't know factually, but he was taking supplements that possibly had banned substances in them. I'm guessing he took illegal stimulants. That's what I'm guessing. I can't say it factually, but I know there's a lot of substances that have illegal stimulants in them. I'm not going to say that I know factually, but I strongly suspect he maybe took an ephedra-based supplement or some supplement that has an illegal stimulant in it, and he tested dirty. That's why Dana White said, even he came out and said, I know he was taking a supplement. I don't believe he took a PED directly, but he was mad at John Jones for not reporting to USADA what actual supplements he was taking. So that's just my opinion. I think he was taking a stimulant.
And because at the end of the day, he's responsible for this.
Yeah,
I mean, he's responsible.
If you notice, though, he walks around at about 235, 240-ish, and he looks like night and day in between fights. He actually has like a pot belly in between fights. I don't know if you've ever seen him in between fights. And then come fight time,
I know he used to. Yeah, he used to, but now he was like powerlifting and everything like that. He is like shredded.
He's taking these again. He's taking stimulants. He's taking fat burners, and a lot of that stuff you buy. Right. You'd be surprised what you could buy at GNC, and you could buy at the Vitamin Shop, or you could buy online. That's sold over the counter, and it's legal supplements. But a lot of these things inside these supplements, a lot of the ingredients, they're on the banned substance list, believe it or not. So things that you and I can take legally, we could possibly take a drug test and fail it.
And rumor has it he's going to be out for 2 years. 2 years. And that was their big money ticket.
He's got the dirty pee-pee.
That's their big money ticket, man.
That's the same suspension that Maria Sharapova got, that's why she's going to Harvard now. That's what she's doing while she's suspended.
Yeah. Hey, I tell you what, let's give the UFC. I know, look at him, man. Let's give the UFC and Dana White some credit for this. They are serious about cleaning up their sport. They just took the main event for their biggest card ever out because of a positive drug test. WBC, I hope they're paying attention. Was that going to be the main
event?
Yes, it was.
That was the main event. That was the main event.
And then they had to switch the female fight to the main event after that?
Yeah, the main event changed twice.
Okay.
It was supposed to be John Jones and Daniel Cormier. That got scrapped.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar and Mark Hunt then went to the main event. Dana White then changed it again and put Amanda Nunes and Misha Tate because Misha Tate has the title.
That was an awesome fight.
So it only made sense.
That?
It was all, absolutely, I bought it. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Didn't you enjoy that from start? That was an outstanding card. Was it or was it not?
I watched it from 6:30 to 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I watched all the prelims on Fight Pass. I watched the prelims on Fox, and I watched the main events on the pay-per-view. Yeah. Unbelievable! Every fight from top to bottom was a headline type fight. I mean, it was amazing.
An awesome card.
And let's talk about that for a second.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah. I mean, I figured you were watching it. I know you were watching it as well because I saw your posts and stuff. Let me just run down the main events and what took place on the pay-per-view. Cain Velasquez beat Travis Brown. Jose Aldo won a unanimous decision over Frankie Edgar to win the interim bantamweight title, I believe. Daniel Cormier beat Anderson Silva via decision. This was a one-sided thing. Anderson Silva took this fight on 2 days' notice. He was actually coming there to be a part of the festivities, like the weekend or whatever, the weekend events and, that kind of thing, sign autographs.
He'd be like signing autographs and stuff. He's part of like the autograph signing.
So for him to take this fight and, he got beat up and, I mean, it wasn't as bad as it could have been, I thought. But, he can't really judge him on that performance. I mean, yeah, absolutely. That front kick that he landed in the third round hurt Cormier bad. That front kick to the gut, man, hurt him bad.
Yeah.
And then Cormier grabbed him and just rode out the round.
Busted up Cormier's face. Yeah, he busted up his face.
And Brock Lesnar, after a 5-year absence, as like a 5-year absence or something like that.
He was in great shape. He was shredded.
He sure was.
Too. He looked great. He looked awesome.
And he had a good game plan, I thought, too. He had a very good game plan, I thought, to stay away from Hunt. And Hunt landed some shots on him, but, hey, Brock's credit, man, he took him. And took Hunt down and almost finished him, man. They very well could have stopped that fight.
Yeah.
Hunt hit him, or Brock Lesnar hit him about 20. Yeah, he looked good.
Switching southpaw. He looked good last
night.
I was impressed.
Did you see in the first round, that first overhand right that Hunt threw and Lesnar ducked under that? My God, if he would have hit him with that, he would have been gone.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Amanda Nunes became the new women's champion by defeating Misha Cupcake Tate via rear naked choke in round 1. Man, that was a good fight, man. Nunes put it on her, boy. That was good.
Wow.
And, yes, that was two women. Two women headlined the card at UFC. Yes.
Yeah, can I just say this, though, about that division? That division is like the best division in the UFC because think about it. Look how many times the belt has changed hands in such a short period of time, and each fight was like a blockbuster fight. Like It was like a fight
Sure.
of the year type performance. Think about it.
Absolutely. I mean, Rousey and Holm, and then Holm and Tate, and then Nunez and Tate. I mean, yeah. Absolutely,
the best fights I've seen in a long time in UFC. Wow.
And how cool is it
imagine?
that, I mean, honestly, man, how cool is it that two women headlined the UFC 200 card? The biggest card in MMA history was headlined by two women.
Yes.
How about that? Speaking
Shout
of
out
women.
to the females.
Speaking of women.
Shout out to the females.
Speaking of women. That's right. Floyd Mayweather is going to open up a strip club in Vegas. Boxer Floyd Mayweather Jr. announced via Instagram and Twitter that he's planning on opening his very own strip club in Vegas. The strip club will reportedly be named Girl Collection. How about that?
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Can this guy do anything more to sully his reputation?
And
I don't believe he can. I don't know that he can.
Honestly, I hope all women now totally ignore him and don't go to work for him.
Listen to the Beeb just ripping Floyd for, I mean, yeah, I'm going to be at that. I'm going to be at that strip club making it rain, son. Making it rain.
Are you going?
I'm going.
No.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I'm going too. If you're going, I'm going too.
That's right. Me and the Beeb are going to make it rain. We're making it rain, baby. I'm going to have my dollar bill on a string, and we're going to make it rain.
That's right.
Boy, I hope that's a comfy couch.
Take Adrian Broner with us.
Adrian Broner, that's right. He just
better
got
not
out
get
of
any
the
fights,
slammer.
though. Better not get any fights in the alleyway.
Yeah, right. That'll be caught on TMZ.
Wow.
All right, I got an Olympic update for you guys. I have an Olympic update. The U.S. Olympic boxing team is set for the males. We have 6. That's it, just 6 going to the Olympics. Light flyweight, Nico Hernandez from Wichita, Kansas. Flyweight, Antonio Vargas from Kissimmee, Florida. Bantamweight, Shakur Stevenson from Newark, New Jersey. I've heard a lot of good things about him. Lightweight, Carlos Balderas from Santa Maria, California. Light welterweight, you guys may recognize this one, Gary Antoine Russell from Capitol Heights, Maryland.
Yep,
yes,
his little brother.
Gary Russell's brother.
Yep.
They're all named Gary Russell, all of them.
Yeah.
Middleweight, Charles Conwell from Cleveland, baby, Ohio, representing in the big show in the Olympics. Now, we also send 2 female representatives, lightweight Michaela Mayer from L.A., California, and middleweight Clarissa Shields from Flint, Michigan. Let me ask you guys this. If Clarissa Shields wins gold again, where does she go from here? There's not really a lot of money in pro boxing for women. What does she do?
Why don't you do what Ronda Rousey did and become a part of the UFC?
Yeah, that seems to be the only place that's open for women's combat sports. I'll tell you that.
Isn't that crazy?
Unbelievable. Do you think, honestly, aside from Clarissa Shields and Mayer, the 2 females, do you think we have a chance to win gold? Any one of these guys, can they pull the upset? I look at Stevenson and I look at Russell.
Well, hey,
I don't know.
I'm going to say Russell has a shot.
Russell.
Let's give Russell the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I like Russell.
Yep.
Friend of the show, by the way. More Olympic updates. Both Hassan and Dom, and I'm not ruined wrong, have made the Olympics. And that's pretty much where the good news ends for those 2. The IBF has dropped Ruin Wrong and Ndam from their rankings. Good for the IBF. That's what they said they were going to do. They did it. By the way, more bad news for these 2 Olympic medal hopefuls. In a shocking lightweight final, listen to this, former IBF flyweight world champion, I'm not Ruin Wrong of Thailand, was knocked out by Lindolfo Delgado Garcia from Mexico.
We don't fuck around in Mexico. Yeah, we heard about it. We covered that a couple of weeks ago. Yep, that's right.
And Dom squeaked by.
Lost the decision.
Squeaked by.
Lost. No, he lost a unanimous decision.
Lost the second fight?
To Juan Carlos Carrillo. Yeah, this is the finals. So we didn't hear about Ruin Wrong. Just came out this week. Ruin Wrong was knocked out cold. And Dom lost a unanimous decision to Colombian Juan Carlos Carrillo, 30-27 on all cards. He was getting bounced around in there like a ping pong ball. So there you go. How about that?
That's
Gilberto
crazy.
Ramirez is out of the Postal Crawford undercard. Gilberto Ramirez has been forced out with a hand injury, and it will require surgery. They're hoping to have him back, I guess, around October or November or something like that, but he's out of there, making a bad pay-per-view card even worse with him out of there. So, yeah. Anthony Joshua and Bermain Stavern are targeted possibly for November. Eddie Hearn is working on it, but with his track record lately, wouldn't surprise me if that's
a done deal. It'll be a done deal if Eddie Hearn's on it.
Eddie Hearn is going to put Chocolatito against Anthony Joshua. So,
oh, my God, no.
There you go. Robert Easter, Ohio Zone. Robert Easter and Richard Kami are headed for purse bid. A month after the IBF ordered lightweight contenders Richard Kami and Robert Easter Jr. to meet for its vacant world title, the sides have been unable to make a deal. So Thursday, the sanctioning body said, hey, you're going to purse bid. So there you go. Richard Kami is supposed to be the goods. He's 24 with 24-0 with 22 knockouts. We know Robert Easter, he's from Ohio, so you know he's good. So this should be a really good fight, man. I'm really looking forward to it. They're fighting for the vacated belt by Rances Bartholomew at 135. Mm-hmm. This week, Forbes compiled a list of the top money makers in the sport. You may be surprised that the top money makers aren't necessarily the best boxers, but they draw the most cash. Number 1 on the list, Canelo Alvarez. Tough to disagree on this one. He's kind of the pay-per-view king since Floyd left. Number 2, Beeb. Who's number 2?
Anthony Joshua.
No, he is not. Tyson Fury, your boy, Tyson Fury. Him and both
Vladimir
Klitschko.
He's Fury. UK.
That's right. Fury. Number 3, Triple G. So he's number 3 on that list. Number 4, Deontay Wilder.
Wow.
Number 5, Andre Ward. Number 6,
nice.
Sergey Kovalev. Number 7, this was a shocker to me. Terrence Crawford is number 7.
Wow.
Number 8, Keith Thurman. Number 9, Miguel Cotto, and he signed that deal with Rock Nation, so he's going to be on that list. And number 10, of course, Floyd Mayweather. He can just suggest a fight and be back in the top 10 with nothing else. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
Why is he on the list? He hasn't fought.
Yeah, really.
Hey, he's a money man. Anybody calls him out, he's going to fight. He can fight. He can make any money. That's the reason why he's number 10.
Even though he hasn't fought this year, so were they basing it off of his promotions that he's put on, or how they doing that?
Maybe. I don't know how they're basing that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, okay. That'd be a good question to ask somebody.
How come Robert Herrick's not on that list?
Hey,
Robert Herrick is not on that list. Go ahead.
I don't have that kind of clout, buddy.
Come on, Rob.
Robert Herrick doesn't subscribe to Forbes, which is why he's not on that list.
That's right.
There you go.
Ever since the boxing, what is it? The Ringside Hotline. What is it called, Robert?
Oh, the Ringside Robbie's Boxing.
Corner.
Yeah, corner.
Yeah, that's a big money maker.
It is. That's making money left and right.
Hey, I get a lot of calls, man. People enjoy what we put up each week.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
That is Robert on the horn. All right, this last one. This is a good one. Last week, Riddick Bowe's Hall of Fame ring went up for auction. Not to be outdone, this week, Joe Frazier's jockstrap has went up for auction.
Jesus Christ.
According to TMZ, the jockstrap that protected the manhood of boxing legend Joe Frazier 45 years ago when he beat Muhammad Ali is going to hit the auction block. The jock dates back to Ali Frazier in 1971, so the same jockstrap that he wore in the fight. There you go. Bid starts on July 11th. Starting bid is going to be 5 G's for $5,000. Beeb.
Hey, there you go,
a piece
Floyd.
of the manhood in history. There you go.
I'm going to buy it, right? This is what I'm going to do. Listen to this. I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to hang it from the mirror in my Toyota Yaris. Yeah.
A jockstrap worn by Nolan Ryan, the Hall of Famer, during his 7th no-hitter, reportedly once sold for $25,000. So we'll see how it goes. Now, supposedly, according to TMZ, one of its selling points is it's never been washed. Oh,
I don't want
I'll
that.
leave you.
I'll leave you
with
that.
The Irish
now. I ain't getting it now.
Yeah, you know it's going in the Yaris now. Now it's going in the Yaris for sure.
No, it's not. Oh, God.
All right, so that'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, you can catch Robert on Twitter at Ringside Robert, or you can call Ringside Robbie's Corner at 773-572-7781 and listen to all the podcasts and fights. You can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at JHabib1 and find his YouTube channel on www.beatingtheoddswithbeeb.com. I'm at Ringside 73, and we will see you next week.
Take care, everyone. Great show.
A Napa guy knows the only way you'd give a freshly minted driver a brand new car is if he promises to never drive it. Instead, let him grind the gears and knock over the neighbor's mailbox in something a little more suited to his skill level. And with over 400,000 parts and a little Napa know-how, he can safely drive something that's nearly as old as he is. It's not perfect, but it's perfect for him. That's Napa know-how.
Want a faster and better way to enjoy your entertainment at home and on the go? Take the Xfinity X1 Challenge and see how your service stacks up at Xfinity.com/challenge. Or for a great offer, call 1-800-XFINITY or click today. Restrictions apply.